Topical and atypical. Unfiltered and independent. 100% authentic and intelligent.
DC and Baltimore, you're up next. I'm outside, y'all, doing what I can to decolonize minds on my mission-driven book tour for my new book, What Would the Ancestors Say?
They say books won't change the world. Tell that to every colonizer that burned them.
Come on out, be in community, buy a book, and get it signed. RSVP at amandaseals.com. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, why can't I hear you? Okay, so you can hear me, but I can't hear this. Why is that? I think it just like reset. Why can't I hear it? Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. I don't know why I can't hear. Good Okay. We're here. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand. We have a long ass show today. We're also on Instagram Live simultaneously. So that's something different that I'm trying to do. That apparently StreamYard allows us to do now. So that's happening simultaneously. And yeah, so shout out to us. And shout out to everybody who has been on the book tour hanging with me. I appreciate you. And I cannot wait to head out on this second run of the book tour, where I'll be just quick little in and out of DC, Baltimore, because you have to say it like that every time. Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm very excited. Okay. I'm very excited. And yeah. So I'm looking forward to really getting to continue these conversations, but like figuring out how to make sure that they're not just conversations, but that they're actions. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing. Okay. So we have the Africa Tap-In coming up, and I took a lot of time to organize. I don't know why I said organize, to create an Africa Tap-In intro. And I have not, and then I realized that it wasn't like in the correct format. And so I'm literally, as I'm talking to you all, trying to multitask and get it in the right format. And I appreciate that you guys are letting me do that because it's very real. And you all know that I don't play about my wanting things to be correct. Okay? About wanting things to be correct. I wrote a poem last night. Why can't I access this image? Okay. Sorry. So while I'm doing this, let's do this. While I'm doing this, let's do this. Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. So the bonus question this week is, how and when did you learn that Thanksgiving, well, we'll call it Thanksgiving for the sake of this context. How and when did you learn that Thanksgiving was not what you were taught in school? Shout out to all of our replay folks. Hey, replay crew. And shout out to all of our folks listening on the podcast. Drop it in the comments right now in the chat. And if you come later to watch with the replay crew, make sure you drop your answer in the comments below. So I am very stressed out right now because I really want you all to get this Africa Tap-In. I really want this Africa Tap-In to happen, and I am dying. I'm really dying because I need it to happen. So just let me focus on this for a second while you all do that. I'll play some music. you guys for letting me do that. Thank you guys for letting me do that. I think you guys are the best. And not y'all like really engaging in full conversation while I did that. All right, y'all know what time it is. Let's get into this. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. Let's find out where everybody is. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop it and tell me where you're watching from. Good morning to the world. AmandaLanders here to learn. Come on, drop it and tell me where you're watching from. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's do it. Come on, we got the DMV, LA, Denmark, Carmel, Indiana, Eastmount, Oakland, Brooklyn, the Dirty Mitten, Michigan, Leominster, Massachusetts, Kuala Lumpur, Manchester, Lytle, Texas, Dragonstone, Marrakesh, Northeast DC. I'll see you next Tuesday. Philly, Redlands, California, Sugarland, Texas, the Netherlands, San Francisco, Lovejoy, Georgia, Chi-Town, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're going to have a Manchester, Uganda, San Diego, Austin, Texas, Wick Women Cog Territory in so-called Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, San Antonio, Texas, Newport News, VA, Houston, New York, Houston, Texas, Wausau, Wisconsin, Greensburg, Pennsylvania, Tongva Island, Tongva Land, Worcester, Massachusetts, Sacktown, Toronto. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Guam, Chelsea, man. Hey, shout out to Chelsea Piers, Jersey, Florida. Now, there's someone in here that says they're watching from Israel. And I just feel like if you in here and you are about what we about, you are actually watching from Palestine. Watching from, yeah. Oh, man. William, your camera is sideways. It's going to make us seasick. All right, let's get into our word of the day. The word of the day is reprobate. Reprobate, R-E-P-R-O-B-A-T-E. It's a noun. Y'all gonna love making sentences with this word. That means depraved, vicious. We just talked about Israel. It's also an adjective that can mean wicked or corrupt. We just talked about Israel. It's also a verb that means to condemn, which is what we should be doing at all times with Israel. Oh my God, I don't have earrings on. Sorry, it's just, there's just certain things that you got to do. Okay. I got to have the earrings on. I need them. This is what it is. All right. So the word is reprobate. It can be used as a noun, an adjective, or a verb. Shout out to everybody listening on the podcast. Make sure that you are saying some examples in the car. want to also inform you guys that now the Small Doses podcast is over. You're still going to see, you're still in the feed, the RSS feed. And so it is going to become the Smart Funny and Black RSS feed. Smart Funny and Black Productions RSS feed. And so through that feed, you'll be getting views from AmandaLand, but you'll also be getting the audio from my book tour, from speeches. You'll also be getting something I call Behind the Seals, which you'll have to be a Patreon subscriber to get access to. But it's basically when I tell stories of things that are happening in my life. So I usually will post videos on Patreon, but you'll also be able to listen to them as audio. And you'll also get access to things like when I do lives on Instagram, like I will actually take the audio from that and upload it so that you can hear it in the RSS feed. Okay. So that is what's going on. So I want to let y'all know about that. Let's use reprobate in a sentence, and then we're going to bring up our Africa Tap-In guest. Reprobate. The American government is all about that reprobate. I don't even think that's used properly, but I'm still going to go with it because we know what the word means, and any attachment to it to the American government is correct. All right, let's go. Another one. Nope. Did you? Okay, here we go. Our reprobate president is compromised by foreign governments like Israel and Russia. Correct. Fatima, the 21st century has introduced more reprobate politicians than I ever expected to witness. Isn't that right? Isn't that real? I think what it lets us know is that government as an actual institution is no bueno. Are we anarchists? Mm-hmm. And Safe Space Sue says just that. By the way, this is a safe space, Sue. All right. I mean, it's only as safe as it can be, knowing that Google is run by reprobate corporate Zionist infidels. Let's keep going. Rachel says everyone in a political position in the States are all reprobates. I mean, listen, I know some people are like, no, I can only name 2 people that I think are not reprobate. And they're both in Florida. All right. Sherry says, my dog stared at me like a complete reprobate after stealing the last slice of my pizza. Shame. And Rolando says, show me your history, your search history if you aren't reprobate. I'm with it. But you know what? We are late, which is actually on time in Africa time. Late is actually on time in Africa time. Let's be real. We're not reprobate. We're in touch with the motherland. And it's time for us to tap in with William Sakawa.
Africa tapping. Africa tapping. Africa tapping to the motherland.
Very proud of my intro, Steve. William, I'm very proud of my intro. I made that intro this morning, William.
It's fire. I like it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You know what? Just for that, we're going to listen to it one more time.
Africa tapping. Africa tapping. Africa tapping to the motherland.
Now, y'all know I have to like mix it properly and everything, but
I'm actually just realizing it's your voice. I hadn't realized it was you the first time.
Was Africa.
Yeah, I hear it now. Yeah.
William, where are you joining us from today?
I'm from the capital of Kenya, the neo-colonial capital, Nairobi.
Nairobi. There's a whole big case going on in Kenya right now in the Maasai Mara. Are we talking about that at all today?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are very fortunate, y'all, to be doing the Africa Tap-In with William Sakawa. And William, I'm going to give the floor to you. Tell us what's going on the motherland in your region.
Sure thing. First of all, thank you very much. I hope you've been okay since the last time we spoke. That's like, 2 months ago?
Yeah. I mean, we're all just trying to...
Yeah, it's capitalism. You get it. Yeah.
So,
about what's happening, we'll start with the Maasai story. So I think a lot of us will know Marriott Hotels, the luxury brand of hotels. So there's a big video that's been doing the rounds where you have the staff of this hotel, Marriott, in the Masai Mara, the world famous Masai Mara, Lion King. You might remember it from that.
I've been
So
there.
you have staff who are like shooing away the wildebeest, and they have these route for migration. So that's of course rightfully caused quite a stir among Kenyans because it's outrageous, but it's also emblematic of a much bigger problem. So, first of all, this is the route the wildebeest have used for centuries to migrate. There's probably like DNA history in it. Like they
Hmm.
know this is the shallowest point of the river to cross. This is the safest from crocodiles and hippos. So you have it's not just random. There's a method to it, and then you have this multinational hotel coming and just placing its hotel smack in the middle of the migration route. So yeah, you have the Maasai elder who went
What
to
was the
court.
reason that they chose that particular spot?
Um,
Isn't it next to like a river or something?
yes. It was at the border between Kenya and Tanzania, between the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. I think a lot of it has to do with the mentality of the modern day conservationists, because it's like a whole movement, and unfortunately, it's the face of it is white. And the bit I find most insulting is that you've had Africans who've lived for centuries, if not millennia, with elephants, with the cheetahs, with the antelopes, with the wildebeests. And suddenly you coming from Europe, from London, from Brussels, from Washington, wherever, and then you're coming and telling these people, actually, I think you know how you guys could better relate to the environment, could better relate with nature. Like, the only reason there are elephants in Africa is because Africans did not go around killing all of them for ivory, right? So
Right.
how do you come to my house and tell me how I should do things when I've been doing it for centuries, if not thousands of years? So that's the bit I find most insulting. But then, if this bit doesn't make sense, then what are they truly here for? I firmly believe it's about control of land and control of resources. Basically, just saying colonialism never really ended, we still have it here. Uh, the most visible aspect of it, I find, is the displacement of the Maasai, of these pastoralist communities from their lands. And it's sort of there's two sides of messed up to it because the more climate change affects the planet, the less we have resources in terms of pasture, in terms of water. So you have less resources. And then you have these conservationist companies or conservationist figures, the Prince Williams, the whatever, all of them. And then they come and tell you, actually, you guys need to move a bit more.
So
So
when they're
already,
calling it conservationism, because we just had a really brilliant woman, Joy Malonza on here talking about conservationism. What makes them conservationists? Because I think that they seem to present like they're conserving environment, but they're really conserving colonialism. Would you agree?
100%. I mean, that's exactly how I put it. The main agenda here is basically about control of African resources, control of African land. Uh, if you look, for example, the Marriott Hotel you're talking about that opened in the Masai Mara, they're charging $3,500 a night. That's not the 1% of the 1% of Kenyans are the only people who could possibly afford to go and stay overnight at the Marriott Hotel. So you have something that has this much impact on the ecosystem being the reserve of a very, very small minority. Of here we're speaking about the very few wealthy Kenyans, and of course the white people who like to come to the Masai Mara, like to go on safari game drives. But ultimately, it's about control of African land. This is basically colonialism in continuation. If we think colonialism ended, it's still here. It's still here, and this is the perfect example of it. So, I mean, to the point about the list. So you have people who are already disenfranchised by climate change. There's fewer pasture, there's fewer water,
Yeah.
and now suddenly they have to move again to where there's even fewer pasture and fewer water because conservationists from the West come and tell them, yeah, we need this land to conserve animals. And again, just back to the point you made earlier, the only reason these animals are with us today is because the indigenous people, conserved it. How many elephants are there in Europe? Oh, maybe that's a bad example, but how much?
No,
How
well, I
much?
can actually give you an example. So in Ireland, they had actually, I'll come back to this, but in Ireland, they had actually hunted I think it was the fox. They hunted the fox like to extinction in Ireland. And so they literally had messed up the, and let me say this also, it's probably not the Irish that did that, right? It's the British who come and colonize and they do this, but they mess up the ecosystem because now they kill the super predator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So not super predator, that's not the word I mean, but y'all know what I'm saying. So what happened is they literally have to now reintroduce wildlife to the landscape because humans disrupted it. My thing is, why is it always the same humans doing this? Can we crack the code?
I forget what African scholar said this, but his whole argument was that the reason, or yeah, basically the reason why colonialism was morally okay, the reason they could go to sleep at night knowing they were going to do all this messed up stuff, is because of the climate they were in. I'm not saying whether it's valid or not, I'm just presenting a theory. So he says the cold, harsh climate where you go for months without maybe crops that could grow, where the wildlife, where life in general goes underground, that kind of developed a cold sentimentality to them, which is why now, they're these grubby people. And an analogy that I usually find funny is they say, if you lived in Britain, that cold, wet, sunless island, and you got the chance to leave that island and go somewhere warmer, you do it. So yeah, that's
Right.
just the theory.
They're
Yeah.
just cold. They're miserable. So they acted
But
up.
they just start to do it. It's in their nature. But again, I'm not saying like I'm supporting the theory or not. I'm just presenting it.
Dang. So what I did see is, so I just wanted to show you guys. So up top here, where you see that line, that is where the hotel is built. It's on that border, to my understanding. And as you can see, there's a river, the Mara River. The hotel is built on the Mara River. And so the wildebeests, they travel through the Mara River, and it's a very like William said, it's a low crossing. It's where the river is the shallowest. And it's also not just wildebeests that travel this river. I mean, that travel this migration. I know that there's other animals too that are traveling this migration. What it also says though is that, they don't care about anything, bro. Like, I know that we say like, oh, they just don't think we're human. But I mean, to my understanding, like, these type of folks don't even care about humans either. So why would they care about wildebeests? But it's not just that wildebeests are, and let me just show you so some of y'all can see what wildebeests are. So here's the wildebeest crossing at the Mara. Okay, look how many wildebeests there are. So here's my question to you, William. Aside from keeping the wildebeests alive, what is the connection of these animals to the Masai Mara besides literally just, and I know I know the answer to this, but I'm just asking for the sake of answering. But what is because I think these folks are like, what's the big deal? They'll just have to reroute. Which is just, I just need y'all to know this, all the white people on here. If I'm walking down the street, if I'm walking on a sidewalk and white people are walking on that sidewalk, I'm in a revolution. I'm in my own little revolution, William. I'm not moving. I'm not. And I was in Grenada the other day on my island, William, and there was a walk, and I was like, I see these 3 British people walking towards me, and I was like, I hope they know I'm not moving. We might have to scrap right here on this little pathway. They moved. They moved to the side. They were like, good morning, good morning. I was like, good. Good. Remember where you are. So please, what is the connection of the animals beyond simply just like we respect that they have their route?
I think the chief reason that the animals migrate is to look for pasture. You've seen the sizes of the herds of the wildebeest. So you can imagine a lot of them in the same place would obviously consume a lot of grass and a lot of vegetation. So it makes sense that when the vegetation becomes lower, and then there's the other side, which is basically unexploited, that they simply cross the river and go to the other side. And I think that the most important, as you say, they could simply reroute. Let's remember that wildebeest have not started crossing from the Masai Mara to the Serengeti yesterday. This is something that is centuries upon centuries of tradition, which means many wildebeest generations before them had the opportunity or had the chance to like explore different parts of the river. And they had basically, settled on the fact that, if we go this way, then we'd have the best chance of success in terms of getting to the other side,
Yeah.
which means maybe the river is shallow, maybe there are less crocodiles, I mean, less predators. So that is a sort of explanation behind it. And then now try to reconcile that to someone who comes to Kenya and tells you, actually, I have a plan for helping you guys conserve the environment. And by doing that, I'm going to put a hotel smack in the middle of the migration route. This just shows, as you say, these people, they obviously conservation is not their concern. What they're concerned is how do we control African land? How do we control African resources? That has been the motive since what, 14, 1500, and it's still going on today. A lot of us, think, yeah, or Barack Obama was the first black president, so black people are free.
Please don't get me started on Barack Obama.
The former chief of defense, Austin, I forget his other name, is black. So, black people are represented. So why should they complain? You're basically free. But
No,
this just
we're not
shows
free.
you. Yeah,
There's
this just
always
shows you.
been, and there's always been Black people who allow themselves
No.
to be utilized for the advancement of the establishment and of colonialism and of capitalism, etc. Like that's always been the case. There's always been people who are willing to not be on code. So, and for what it's worth, let me also note Barack Obama's father is from Kenya. That ends up being like a marriage, right? Because if people don't realize that people don't realize that the United States still functions like a monarchy in terms of who it puts in office and who's connected to what and how that allows for these like continued connections to other countries. And in monarchies, they used to just marry people so that they could have a diplomatic connection. Like it wasn't like, oh, I love this lady. It's like, no, I'm trying to have some bond over here with Germany. So we about to marry you to some German cat. And Obama being Obama being Kenyan, that's what that was about, in my opinion. And by the way, you got Kamala, and she's Indian. And you see they trying to figure out what to do over there. But what else is going on?
Okay, apart from the Masai Mara stuff, we also have officially, I think the warrant of arrest has been issued for a British soldier. So this goes back to 2012, 2013, where my whole point is that you have this, she was 21 at the time, and she was killed. She was a Kenyan worker. Reports say she was a sex worker. I think that's like the general understanding of it. So reports one of the British soldiers killed her and then boasted about it on Facebook. And since 2013 to now, that's 12 years. You have the main murder suspect boasting about it on Facebook, but it takes you 13 years to issue a warrant of arrest. And someone made a very good point in that. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine it was a Kenyan soldier on British soil who had defiled and killed a British woman. Will it take 13 years to bring that Kenyan man to justice? It obviously won't.
They
right?
wouldn't be brought to justice. They would end up being unalived before they even got to go to court.
Yeah. So this just ties into the whole Mara story again. Basically, that colonialism never really ended. You can see the inequalities in power here. So yeah, that's something major that's been happening around Kenya. Next, our neighbor Tanzania had elections. I'm pretty sure you must have seen about it.
No,
And
I live in the United States. We don't see about anything. Like if I don't, that's why it's so important to have you all come on the show, because the concept that we are on a globe is very new for a lot of Americans, William. We don't get news. We don't get
Understood.
Yeah. So please talk to us like we're 5-year-olds.
Okay. So Tanzania, we had a presidential election where the main candidate won with 98% of the vote. But a lot of people have been calling to question. You won with 98% of the vote, but you have to do the swearing in ceremony in a military training ground where zero members of the public are allowed to participate. You have widespread riots covered, and there is not the same level of support in terms of you actually. It's the funny thing because you even have like official African bodies like the South African development
Hmm.
community. I think, yeah, you had even them like saying, we have issues with the elections. For one, you guys were intimidating opposition runners. You guys intimidated the media. There's been a series of abductions of key presidential candidates. It's not a level playing field. So for you to win is 98%, you also have to look at, okay, but was the election fair? Which is, it wasn't fair. Now, I'm
It's also
just,
just not possible.
yeah, yeah,
Like that's what always irritates me. I'm just like, why are y'all even at least make it a little more like you tried
yeah.
to make
Like, do 70%. It's bad,
yeah.
but it's not 98%.
Like that's just not true. I mean, no one believes that.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, in certain circles, there have been, I feel, rightful concerns. People have been correctly concerned that maybe the CIA is trying to like overthrow a government. This is something that has happened a lot of times before. This is something the CIA always does. So, this is not a far-fetched idea. But on that, I'm not gonna say it's not possible, but I don't think it's likely. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's likely.
Do
And
you think
the
it
reason
could be?
is,
If it's not that, well, then what do you think it could be? Just
yeah,
internal corruption?
you have the Chama Pinduzi party, which is the main party. It's been in power since independence. And this is something that I feel applies lately or recently to a lot of African countries, Mozambique, I think Botswana. So when these parties came to power during independence, a lot of Africans had a lot of hope in them. Like, this is what we expect you guys to do. This is how far we want you guys to take the country. But what you have instead is a consolidation of the elite. Yes, the white man left, but the black people he left only look after themselves. This is the
Mm.
case in South Africa. If the last elections was the first time the ruling African National Congress Party got less than 50% since 1994. So this is basically African people sending a message. Yes, you guys gave us independence from white people, but we don't feel like the fruits of independence are being distributed like to each according to their need. So this is the case with CCM, and which is why I think I don't think it's the maybe CIA or some Western intelligence agency involved, because for a time, the country of Julius Nyerere, he had very good, very clear socialist policies in terms of benefit of the many. And then I think 1976, you have this new president coming in, this new chairman of the CCM party, and then he introduces new liberalism. And this is around the time when the IMF is really starting to take root in Africa. And his nickname actually is Mr. Permission. In
Mr.
Swahili, is
Permission?
yes, Mr. Rukshan, which means he basically permitted any multinational corporation. He opened up Tanzania to the world markets. But the effect of that is one of the conditions of the IMF, as you know, is the state has to step back. The state has to let the private sector step in and control trade and control industry, all that. And one of the consequences of this was that you had industries where the state was involved, which means the state had a direct impact on a lot of ordinary Tanzanians. So Mr. Ruksha comes in, Mr. Permission comes in, and the state pulls back. The consequence of that is now there is mass unemployment. And this is just one. If you look at maybe the running of the cities, it's the basic story around all of Africa. Rents became high, all that, which is, again, a key feature of capitalism. So, starting from the 70s, I feel the CCM, which had very good policies under Julius Nyerere before, changed into capitalism and neoliberalism. And of course, this benefits very few people. It might make the country rich, like South Africa, but this wealth will only be felt by very few people, which means you have many more people who are disenfranchised, more people who do not live a life of dignity. So
Can you
that
give an
I feel,
example of some of the industries?
I'm sorry, I'll have to get back to that. I can get them off the top of my head, but I'll definitely get back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, usually it's stuff like maybe cement making, steel making.
I see.
But I don't feel like generalize and say something
Yeah.
I'm not sure of. So yeah, I'll have to get back to that. So since the 70s, you have this is the legacy of the CCM. It enriches few people but makes millions more miserable. So it's no surprise that many Tanzanians do not feel a connection to the political process. And I feel what we saw, the discontent we saw, it's not that the CIA came and started manufacturing the discontent in Tanzania. So yeah, that's it for Tanzania. Unless you got anything else, I could move on to Mali. No, I'll come back to Kenya and then to Mali.
All right. We're with you. We're riding. What's next?
Okay. So in Kenya, about a month and 2 weeks ago, we had the death of Raila Odinga, and then of course we had guys like Barack Obama tweeting, I mean, he had an impact, but this impact is something I call to question. He's like a Bernie. Okay, I don't know. This might offend the viewers. I'm sorry, but he's like a Bernie Sanders type of figure,
Yeah,
right?
he's full of
He
it.
preaches. He preaches revolution. He says, the society should be more equal. All the stuff, Medicare for all, inequality is a problem, which is good. And then he gets the chance to, in a position to make the change, and does nothing. So that's why I make the Bernie Sanders comparison. So for Raila, before 1982, we only had one party. We had a one-party system in the country. This was KANU. This was the Independence Party. And of course, he's credited not by himself, but he was among a body of Kenyans who actively agitated to have multi-party democracy, have less repression by the Daniel Moy regime. So I'll give him that. But my suspicion, which
What
is,
is his name
I mean,
again? I want to find his picture. What's his name?
Raila Odinga,
How do I spell that? Ryla.
as it sounds,
I
it's
got it. I got it.
yeah,
I always forget. Like, yeah, it's Africa.
it's African.
It's spelled how it sounds. Okay.
So yeah, Raila was a pretty, I say popular figure, which is the biggest tragedy for me because we have millions and millions of Kenyan people who put their trust in him. But every single time Raila had the opportunity to make a difference, he betrayed the Kenyan working class. This is what it's basically he was an opportunist. How the previous elections, basically every time there's been elections, most of the time, or like 2 or 3 times, he's been robbed of the elections. That's fact. And then, he obviously goes to the streets, he tells his supporters, nah, this is not fair, this is not fair, we've got to hit the street, we've got to protest. And then, of course, as I said, this is someone who got more than 50%, so he commands a sizable portion of the country. And when he decides to protest, obviously the country is going to come to a standstill, the economy is going to grind down. So at some point, even if you stole the elections, you have to come and talk to him. Because if you don't talk to him, Western companies are not coming to invest in Nairobi because Nairobi is unstable. Simple as that. So that's the sort of power he wielded. But whenever he got the opportunity, okay,
But
we
he
need to talk
wields
to
that
Raila.
power just to be in power. Like, it's not like he uses the power. He just wants to be able to be there. So he goes to the people, he wrangles them up, riles them up, and says, no, put me back in power. Like, don't let them do this to me. And they're like, okay, because he did get something done to him. So he is a victim, but he uses that victimhood just to put himself in power and not to actually utilize his power to help the real victims, which are the Kenyan people who are being misrepresented and neglected.
I couldn't put it better. That's the perfect summary of who Raila Odinga is. And then it goes a step further because, as I said, whenever he comes close to power, he does nothing for the people, but he does something for himself. Usually, there's something called a handshake. In 2007, when I think the first time he ran as president and the elections were stolen from him, the agreement was, okay, we'll share the government 50-50. There were no working class people represented in government. It was people close to him politically, people who are wealthy enough to participate in Kenyan politics. 2007. Next elections happen in 2013. Same thing happens. Uh, so they call, oh, we have to talk to Raila, bring Raila to the table. No, I think that was 2018 because we had Uhuru Kenyatta coming in 2013, runs his 5 terms, and then runs for second term in 2017. And then Raila gets the election stolen from him again. So, of course, he goes to protest. We even had a boycott of two major corporations. One, the president's dairy company called Brookside, and two, the main telecommunications company called Safaricom, which is apparently also one of the biggest financial players as well, because it facilitates money transactions. So after, of course, Kenya is unstable. We cannot count on new investments coming in. The Western investors are, they're in jitters. They're not sure that they should invest in this environment. So if we want them to come and give us billions of dollars, we have to speak to Raila. That is exactly what they did. Raila comes in. Again, it's his people who are in cabinet. It's his people who get tenders for maybe supplying oil, sugar, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, he's in a position to make money from the government, and his friends are in a position to make money from the government. These have been the outcome every single time. So I have this thing where I say, I don't say it's a saying basically that systems should be judged for what they do, not for what they say. So by the same metric, Raila Odinga should be judged for what he did and not for what he said. So in as much as he spoke good game about, oh, I should serve the people, oh, the people are oppressed, he never really put his foot to it when it actually mattered.
But do the people still believe him when he says that?
So I think,
because that's what frustrates
yes.
me here. In see,
yes, see if Bernie Sanders was to come again today, you people vote for him, right?
It's interesting because they all kind of do the same thing where they do what's called breadcrumbing, where they kind of they give you just a little bit, enough to wet your palate and make you feel like, oh, look, they gave us something. I mean, I've dealt with this dating, right? Like you're dating someone and they do a good thing and you're like, look, and then they do a bunch of whack things and you're like, oh, you're whack. But then they're like, no, look, I did this nice thing. And so that is the dynamic. And I'm just like,
yes.
What is it about the masses that they don't disengage from that? I'm trying to solve this. William, I swear, I feel like if I could just unplug from the United States and just live on the land with no interruptions for 3 months, I could figure it out. I really do.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of discussion. Of course, what I say is not. I don't say this is for facts. What will rightfully work, but I think it's a problem of political education. People make these poor choices. They make these poor choices because they don't really understand the impact of politics in their lives. A big mobilization technique during Kenyan elections is money. A politician steals from you for 5 years, comes back, gives you $2, and buys your vote.
Yes.
This politician goes back to parliament and makes all that money back.
Listen, why can't this is a real thing here in the United States. This is a very real thing that people are now starting to see. They're like, now hold on a minute now, because I think a lot of people also didn't realize that politicians are making money.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi has made $200 million since she has been in the House of Representatives.
What's the salary again?
The salary for the House of Representatives is something like $180,000.
Oh, she'd have to work forever to make 200 million. So again, point is, these politicians, it's insulting. It's insulting, really. I give you $1 and I take $100 from your back pocket. That's the entire dynamic. That's exactly how it works in our context, and as I just said, in yours as well. So the question is, Why the hell do voters, why the hell does the electorate still make these decisions? And I think it goes back to political education. People don't really realize the fact that these $2 I'm taking right now will cost me healthcare, will cost me roads, will cost me education, will cost me infrastructure. This is something that if someone who didn't give me the $2 and actually had a progressive agenda, if I'd actually voted for him instead, my life will be much better off in 5 years as opposed to these other politicians. But we don't do that. So I think it's a question of we are not properly informed. So it's now I think the hardest task is that, or the toughest pill to swallow is that this is work that has to be done. It's hard, it's grassroots, it's grimy, but there is no other way other than political education. That's once you have an established, educated grassroots, the world is your oyster. That's how I see it. It's a very hard task, but yeah.
Inem was on the show recently, and she was talking about how really what's happening in Burkina Faso is possible because there was a really committed effort to political education that took place even before Traore was in power.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of the West say, oh, the Burkina Faso authoritarian, the Burkina Faso dictator, something along those lines. But I usually like to say, before Traore, we had Damiba, who ruled for, I think, less than a year. And it wasn't, okay, before Damiba, we had Compaore. It was Compaore who killed Sankara. I think Compaore ruled Burkina Faso for either 24 or 28 years. But let's remember, it was Burkina Faso people who removed Blaise Compaore from power. These same people gave Damiba a mandate. Then Damiba, instead of doing what the people told him, he still went back in bed with the French. Then the people said, you know what? If you're not going to do what we want, you're also going to go out. So I say Traore is a product of a very pure form of democracy. Americans don't have democracy. The West doesn't have democracy. It's the bankers, it's the landlords, it's the real estate agents, it's the tech bros who control your democracy. How much in bailouts was given to banks in 2008? How much is being given to companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, Palantir right now? How much of that is being given to the normal working class American? So whose interests are being served by this democracy, which America says, oh, we're the world's greatest democracy? But does it show? But for Burkina Faso, you have you have rapid industrialization, you have rapid construction of infrastructure. You've seen the roads being constructed day and night. In Niger, you have a company, the French company that's been taking uranium for free. I actually call it for free because if I take a piece of paper, write something on it, put a stamp, give it to you. But in exchange for this paper, I want you to go someplace. I want you to work in the sun. I want you to actually sweat, and I want you to actually bring me something useful. All I have to do is print a paper, write something on it, stamp it, but you have to work. That's free. That's free resources. That's the kind of relationship that France has with these countries, or had with countries like Niger. So Niger can't say it and tells France, you know what? Yeah, screw off. We're taking our uranium. Orano, get out of here. I'm going to go to basically.
No, we were just letting you cook. We were just letting you cook because you wasn't here like this. And I said, I don't want to say nothing because William is chefing it up right now. You were cooking.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say
let's go. Let's go. All of us in here, like the chat was even quiet. The chat was like, let me just not interrupt him because he's clicking right now and we need to stay focused. Okay. Flick of the wrist. So let's talk about Mali. Mali is a landlocked country that is bordered by Algeria, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And Mali is part of the Sahel Union, correct?
Yeah, it's actually people might be the wrong thing to say, but we love Burkina Faso a lot. Traore is our favorite, but I feel we usually overlook Mali. I firmly believe if it wasn't for Mali, Burkina Faso won't get the independence it got. If it wasn't for Mali, Niger won't get the independence it got. Mali was the first country to break away from France in 2020. Mali, it was alone. At least when Burkina Faso was coming in, at least Mali was there. They have someone, hey brother, the French are kind of squeezing us here. Help us. It was something they could count on. But Mali, it's the land of Mansa Musa. Actually, yeah, it's actually maybe poetic that it's the first country, I say in Africa, to actually break free from colonial or neo-colonial chains. So now, recently, just let me not get too carried away. Recently, the multinational corporation Barrick Gold, it's maybe top 10 in terms of mining companies in the world. It's pretty important. They finally come to an agreement with Mali, but this is a problem that started from 2023, so it's something that's taken 2 years for them to resolve. So in 2023, Mali passes a new mining code, and this is now just to show you that while the rest of Africans will say we have democracy because we vote, but the people of Mali actually have democracy because what they want happens for them. Before Goita comes in, I think the rate was 15%.
This is
So for
Goita, y'all.
every
This is Goita.
that's a
Wait, I
single
want to
rate.
put I want to pin in this. I want to put a pin in this really, really quickly. When you're saying they have democracy because they're getting what they want, and you can come back to this because I know I've already figured out how your brain works. So come back to this when you're done making your point. But I want you to explain to us what you think is this mechanism that allows for that, that's different in other places. Go on.
Mm-hmm. I actually think this is the result of basically the more you oppress people, the more they want to resist. What is it? Newton's second law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the more you oppress people, the more they resist. Take Israel and Palestine. The more they oppressed Palestinians, the more the likelihood that October 7th was going to happen. This is simply the natural consequence of oppression. So I think the let me not say lucky factor, but I think the important factor here is that, yes, the people of Mali, the people of the Sahel, the people of Francophrique all have very strong opinions towards France, and it's negative. But in terms of what can we possibly do? France is a member of NATO. You saw what NATO did to Libya, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, right? So it has to be someone who has the capacity to effect change.
It's just someone with a backbone. See, that's basically what you're saying. You're literally like,
Yeah.
It's not that deep, Amanda. It's just got to be someone with a backbone.
But as well, the backbone has to have a big stick because, as I say, the average civilian might not really have much they can do. And now this is somewhere where usually if the civilians want this, but in most of the times, the military in many countries are part of the elite. So the elite has an interest in making sure the situation remains the same.
Yes.
Let's not have a change. They benefit from the status quo. So that is why in the other 54 or 50 or 47 other African countries, there hasn't been something similar to what happened in the Sahel, because a lot of these militaries also feed at the trough. In terms of in Kenya, for example, nobody audits what the military gets. In terms of, okay, here's the annual budget, the military is getting this amount of money. Nobody ever goes to check, okay, so you guys said you bought this, okay?
I mean, they
where
say
is
that
it?
they're doing it here in the United States, but it doesn't mean anything. The Pentagon has failed every audit, which is why
right?
people keep paying taxes. Like people just keep paying taxes to these people to do whatever they want with them.
Exactly. So maybe if I could use the Pentagon one as an example, do you really expect someone who's maybe a major general who's got a job waiting for him at Lockheed Martin, at Boeing, at Raytheon? Do you really expect him to do a coup that will actively harm the interests of Boeing and Raytheon and whatsoever? It won't happen. So that's exactly what's been happening elsewhere.
You just said something that I feel like I haven't paid attention to, which is that our military itself has an elite class. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I haven't really like the United States military itself has an elite class. And thus, even when they get to the certain ranks of the military, they leave the lower ranks, so to speak, not just by designation, but also by like their level of access to also funds and status, and then they get to retain that by pivoting to these other corporations. I think it's the last three or four secretaries of defense for the United States were all CEOs and had all served at major weapons manufacturing companies.
Exactly. So you wouldn't expect Lloyd Austin to suddenly do a people's revolution for the United States of America. It simply won't happen. So I think this is something that was an anomaly in terms of the Alliance of Sahel states, where you have soldiers who are relatively high access in terms of the military hierarchy,
Yeah.
who are also grounded in the people. They
Yes,
see
but
what's
why?
happening.
But what? But that's what you have to figure out, William. What is it
I hear
about
you.
them? Why were they able to still retain that? Because I can tell you that I'm somebody who I'm an anomaly. Like I went to Hollywood, I made it. I'm super talented. I'm pretty. I'm light skinned. Like I could have gone the distance. Okay. Like in terms of capitalism in the United States, I could have really gone the whole distance and got the bigger house. And I could have been a movie star. It never was attractive to me because there was always the groundedness of, yeah, but
Yeah, something doesn't add up. Yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and I know that that's because I came here apparently with a certain soul, but then I also had a lot of like building while I was a kid. Like I was always hearing Jimmy Cliff, rest in peace, in my house. I was always hearing, like, there was always revolutionary aspects around me that I feel like made their way into my cellular structure from day one.
Mm.
And so I just wonder about these men.
Uh,
That's why every time we have white people on this show that I consider to be high quality whites, I always ask them, how did you get like this? I'm trying to solve something here. So I think about that when you say like these men were able to do a people's revolution because they were high ranking, but still grounded
in the people.
But why? How did they manage to be both? 3 is a lot.
Yeah. I think I'd say it has to do. Remember I said earlier about the every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I think France is among the most vicious neo-colonial powers. Niger was the second poorest country in the world, but has been supplying around 30% of of France's electricity.
Let me tell y'all something. When you fly over Niger, you like, what's here? What's here? Like it looks
So
barren, but yet it's
the
not barren
uranium,
because they're stealing everything from it.
exactly. Yeah, the uranium that should have been used to light up Niger was used to light up the Eiffel Tower. And now this is just to show you. France comes and says, yeah, colonialism, and we are friends now. Then why not share nuclear technology with Niger? Why not let them utilize their own resources? And again, this is just to show you the qualitative difference between these governments before and after. I hope I've
But
answered the question.
let me also add though, for you guys, when you hear the word nuclear, that doesn't necessarily mean weaponized nuclear utilization. Like nuclear is also used to create electricity, to like actually like make places function. So when we hear nuclear, we always think, oh, so they're going to have nuclear weapons. And that's not, it's being able to refine what you have to utilize it as a source of power.
Definitely. I mean, look, even if they wanted nuclear weapons, man, there's a reason North Korea hasn't been invaded, and there's a reason Libya has fallen. If Gaddafi had nuclear weapons, maybe NATO wouldn't have killed him and turned Libya into an open air slave market. But again, that's beside the point. So I believe the reason that these 3 countries were the ones that gave Africa its first revolution is because they are also the most oppressed. You have Niger. Niger gets 70% of its electricity from Nigeria. But Niger's uranium powers 25 to 30% of France. How does that make sense? Right. So I think, fortunately, you also have, but also remember that these military people, they also come from these communities. There's like a, now this is, I'll say, maybe chance, because there was a chance that someone who's less politically inclined to revolution would have been in the place of Chani, but it was Chani who was there. But even then, we had Bazoum before. Bazoum was the president before General Chiani came in, and Bazoum was a darling of France. Bazoum is the reason why France was getting uranium for free. Then you have Chiani coming in and say, you know what? Yeah, actually, yeah, you're not exporting anymore. What you have in the warehouse, we're gonna keep that. Matter of fact, I think they actually sold the uranium to Russia recently. I'll have to confirm, but yeah, that's
They
one
did.
mystery.
And people were like, no, they shouldn't do business with Russia either. And it's like, listen, if Russia buying it, sell it.
Let
Like,
them, yeah,
they're not
yeah, yeah.
picking up their uranium. They said we'll pay you for your uranium.
They're not taking it for free like France,
No.
basically.
You know what the
And
other
I
thing
feel,
is, William, is that when we look at these countries, we are thinking about them as individuals in silos, but they're on a globe. And we had, particularly in the United States, we are very much tricked into feeling like the United States is the only thing that's here, and it's not.
mm,
By the way,
yeah,
my next
if
guest is already here. We've been talking now for damn near an hour because William came and said, "I'm gonna tell y'all about the whole continent." So let's wrap up, Molly.
that's Robert Mali. So yeah, the same thing with Niger taking back its resources in 2023. Mali introduces the new mining code. Before they were getting, I think, 15%. Then they increased and said, for every operation you guys are doing here, we want 35%.
Yeah.
Then you have this big dog, Barry Gold, coming and say, you know what, fuck you, man. You're gonna give you 35%. So Wiley says, aha, that's it. Okay. They arrest the CEO, they arrest a few employees, and they told them you gotta give us $500 million. And on top of that, the gold that was in the warehouse, they are the same thing with Niger. You know, you're not exporting this gold. This is now under control of the state. And told them, you guys, actually, you have taxes, you need to backdate, all that kind of stuff. So that's what's been happening since 2023. And then you have now, they finally come to an agreement. But before this, actually, Barrick Gold finally went to, it's not, is it
Very,
the, I don't think
very
it's the World
gold. That
Bank.
sounds like an Israeli name.
It does. It does actually. Yeah, yeah. But I think it's Canadian. So they go
Well,
to,
Zionist.
yeah, same difference. So I think they go to a wild arbitration court, and then the proceedings have been going on, but behind the scenes they've also been talking. So now Mali has told Barrick Gold, okay, look, we're gonna drop the case. You are gonna get your license back. We are gonna release your employees, but you're sticking to 35%. That's the rate. And on top of that, I don't know exactly the figure, but they're getting paid millions of dollars, maybe in line with what they told the Barrick to pay in terms of back taxes. But yeah, that's basically it. I know, but the point really is there could be some people that are disappointed. Let's say, Mali should have kicked Barrick Gold completely out. And this just goes back to your point earlier, just before I started speaking, where I feel we do not live in an ideal world. Like, so long as the principle of it is rooted in revolutionary spirit. Mali, for example, Mali is not in a position to process its own gold right now. It could use with technical help from people who are already established. But if they can get a good deal, 35%, I think that's the highest in Africa. 35% of your
And then that
operations are
changes if they,
slowly.
yes, it changes slowly because once you elevate your rate, now it becomes a new precedent that everyone has
Yes.
to respond to.
Has
And
to
now
follow,
you're
yes.
also controlling the precedent versus
Yes.
the outsider, which is what colonialism has always done. And you should be able to control your own precedent. This is why, like,
Yes.
whenever, if an artist tells me that their piece is $20,000, I'm like, okay, I may not pay for it, but like, who am
But
I
I
to tell
respect it.
you?
Yeah, I
like,
respect it.
I
Yeah.
respect it. I respect it. Your piece is $20,000. All
Yeah.
right, baby. I
Yeah.
don't got it, but I respect it. The last thing I'll take away from this, though, that I'm listening to is You know, what you're saying about France is that they essentially were so oppressive that it was felt by all. There was a universality to the oppression. And so no one remains unscathed. And that is the thing that a lot of places, that's where they messed up, actually.
Actually, I think that's a brilliant point. It might have popped the light bulb because remember in 2011 you have the killing of Gaddafi, and the consequence of that is, if I was to ask you right now, what three places you think are famous for terrorism? The Middle East is gonna be somewhere at the top of your list.
I mean, you're talking to
But
me.
after
I'm going to
the,
say the United States. And then I'm going to
okay,
say,
oh, fair.
first
And
I'm going to
then,
say Israel. Then I'm going to say the United States. And then I'm going to say England. So
okay. So, but
that's
the
me.
average person will maybe say, the Middle East is somewhere here, right? But since Gaddafi fell, the Middle East is now at the top list. You have the Sahel. So this is the place with the most terrorism-related deaths in the world. In 2022, it was 8,700 people killed by terrorists.
But who are
And
the
remember, among
terrorists?
this, the terrorists were the same people NATO armed and funded to kill
Yes.
Gaddafi. So they killed Gaddafi, and it's like, okay, we have guns, we have cars. What do? We go south, right?
Yeah, but they
So from
continue to be
2011,
armed. Like, I've seen enough movies. They're armed and they are absolutely being controlled and influenced and in cahoots with some white guy in khakis who wears, sunglasses and looks very nondescript, but is absolutely out there. Haven't y'all ever seen
yeah,
Sicario? There's some white man who's showing up in a shirt with a loose it'll be a t-shirt, but the collar is really loose, like it's been put on too many times. And he's just showing up and having these real casual conversations because he's the cool white guy,
and it
Hey,
has the
listen,
aviator glasses
yes, he has oh my God. William, you nailed it. He has aviator glasses. Yes.
and maybe a mustache.
And a mustache, and he's just there, and he's wearing flip-flops indiscriminately, and he's like having these conversations with these folks, and then he comes back and sits in a meeting at Langley and says, well, this is what they're going to do now.
That's exactly what. I mean, another key story I might have glossed over in the interest of time was that there was a plan to collapse Mali a few weeks ago. Mali has been under a severe fuel shortage because the terrorists have been ambushing fuel trucks. You remember Mali is a landlocked country, so every bit of fuel they get has to be shipped in by trucks. Now, these terrorists have been ambushing these trucks, but somehow, now this is where, I mean, it goes back to the point where I say, let's not be idealistic. Yes, we want Mali, Burkina, Niger to be free, but to get there, they have to make partnerships with certain countries. I must say this, if it wasn't for Russian cooperation, I don't think the AES will be viable as a state as it is today. Because from the very moment Mali kicked out France, France has been trying to knock down Mali. Now, here's a quick question. Do you reckon, on everything kept constant, do you think Mali will be able to defeat France? They don't have the same level of resources. France is a member of NATO, has access to maybe all the satellite networks in the world, has access to CIA intelligence, is the one actively funding these terrorists. So it's unfair to tell Mali, no, don't take help from anyone, don't cooperate with anyone,
Fair.
fight them on your own.
Yeah.
They'll fail. We do not want to perpetually cry, oh, they killed Sankara, oh, they killed Lumumba, oh, they killed Nkrumah. This is something that actually works for the interests of Africans. Goita, Traore, Chani are not working for Westerners. They're not working for the Chinese. They're not working for the Russians. They're working with the Russians, which is something completely different from being under the Russians. So I feel it's a relationship of mutual respect, and it's far different from what France was doing. And the only reason France is still financing these terrorists is to take control back of Mali. Let's remember that Mali is one of the biggest gold producers in Africa, and you've seen the price of gold in recent months.
I have not,
So
but
yeah,
is it popping?
it's popping, it's
Okay.
high, it's soaring. So yeah, I'm just saying, it's going to be realistic. I think the cooperation they have is very productive. Russia actually helped Mali overcome the fuel shortage. So yeah, all good, and I think that's about it.
Well, thank you so much, William, for tapping in and telling us what's going on in the motherland. You know, it's very valuable information for us. And as per usual, we have to point out that you have nice hands. William's got the best hands in the game, y'all. I mean, let's just give it up for William's hands. And also the knowledge. As we informed you before, if this whole being a smart black man thing doesn't work out, you can always be a hand model. All right. So just know that there's another route for you if you need it. Looking forward to having you back on the show. And thank you once again for sharing not only your like information and knowledge, but your insights, right? Because that's the other thing is that, and I'm going to show a video about this later, but the people of the motherland of Africa need to be able to speak for themselves. And so often I feel like we're getting the information from you all through third parties that are doing their own assessments based on what always ends up being a colonialist perspective. So appreciate you, appreciate Africa Stream and all the good things. Latasha, your camera is sideways. There we go. All right, y'all. We are about to get into our next guest. I know we are moving and grooving, and let's get into it. AmandaLand. We up. Y'all, we are joined for our Level Us Up segment by Latasha Marchand. And Latasha, I came across Latasha on the interwebs, okay? Because she has an organization called Jump Up Books. It's all about children's literacy. And when we find ourselves in a nation that is championing ignorance, not just in culture, but in policy. For instance, the Department of Education, as we know, has now been dismantled. And children K through 12 education has now been moved to the Labor Department. And I'm just going to read what it says just to lead us into your segment. I'm just going to read what the Labor Department says that they're going to do. This is from the White House. This is from the government's website. The Labor Department is committed to working with the Department of Education to ensure our K through 12 and post-secondary education programs prepare students for today and tomorrow's workforce demands. I don't even need to read the rest because that is a very thinly veiled language for we're just going to teach you how to be used. That's all we're teaching you. And we know that literacy is a key component to being able to move outside of the realms of control. So hello, Ms. Marchand. Thank you for joining us. And so talk to us about Jump Up Books, what made you start Jump Up Books, how you got involved in children's literacy, all the things.
Okay. All right. So lots to unpack because this administration, oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. But I've been basically a community organizer, I would say, but I throw my own events. You know,
Where are you based?
I'm based in I'm in Inland Empire, San Bernardino.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've lived in Redlands before. It's kind of adjacent to here, but it's basically Inland Empire, that whole thing. And
so
there's a lot
y'all,
of
for those who don't know,
California. Yeah, California.
And
the IE all day, Inland Empire. Shout out to all of us. Lord knows, you know, we get forgotten. They only talk about LA. And yeah, it's real out here. We basically move here for all different reasons, but point is, we'll get there. But I have been doing community organization pretty much on my own here in San Bernardino for over, I mean, I was doing things back with the public access channel, and that had to be that was like 2009. Okay. So yeah, and I would my own money, you know, go out and give backpacks and books, and I would just, you know, I would talk to the you know how people say, oh, you don't know who your mayor is or who your the coroner or whoever. I'm in their office. I was in the coroner's office. I've been writing for the newspaper, trying to ring the alarm, like, hey guys, something bad is happening. And then, I find out certain things about them as well. Been to the city council meetings. I can tell you guys, it's a mess, how you're dismissed. And not only, like, I know that there is, yes, absolutely being Black, yes, but they dismiss anybody that's not going with it. You really get dismissed, of course, if you're a Black person, but I'm saying, like, if you're not going with whatever the agenda is, no, they don't have no time for you. And then a lot of the organizations, you have to be very careful, very cliquish for whatever reason. Just being honest. That's from a person on the ground. I don't consider myself an activist because I feel like when you take on that role as I'm an activist, that's a lot. I've done things, try to, help, but I do feel like, in my opinion, you're an activist.
What do you think you are?
For me, I feel like I'm a person that just wants to help, but I really want to genuinely help.
It's the reverse. It's the term activist makes it seem like there's a job for, it makes it seem like
that is true. It's supposed to be a part of your walk. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Okay. Then I can go. Okay.
Be activists.
And that's what I've really been saying. Like, and honestly, I don't, and I will get to jump. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm talking all over the place, but I wanted to just land this really quickly. I think that that's the problem, that we do think that it is something big or huge that everybody, but also I don't understand, even before all the drama and the mess that we are in, how people cannot care. There's lots of people sleeping outside. But anyway, we'll get there. But how I came up with Jump Up for School, actually it was inspired by my daughter. I have two daughters. My oldest daughter, she was really struggling and just wasn't finding her place. And then my younger daughter, just full speed ahead, right? Mm-hmm. Just always. And I was wondering, like, what is going on? And they said that there's a few types of kids, but you either have a really good test taker, or you have a child that's really afraid to, just they don't really know where they're going wrong, but something's missing foundationally. Mm-hmm. And so we had to get to the bottom of that. Found out really quickly, like, a lot of people get a little offended about how they get offended about things that they feel that they should know. Especially, yes. And you can be talking to anyone of any age, and I'll just give you guys some stats. So they, according to the national education, it's like a report card that comes out. It's the National Educational Literacy Program, mm-hmm. And they tell you 40% of fourth graders are not reading. They're reading on like they're not reading on level, right?
Okay.
And then the proficient children, they're reading on like they're not proficient. It's just they've lowered the bar so low that proficiency actually isn't what it's supposed to be. And the crisis that we're all in, that they keep calling a literary crisis, we're all in it. And this is the thing, very few people, it takes critical thinking, memory, and those foundational skills to build a really strong reader, right? And practice. You have to read all the time. Mm. Many people, we just don't. And a lot of it is time, but yeah, that's what's going on.
So tell us about how Jump Up Books works.
Yeah. Okay. So Jump Up for School, it basically is a book club. But the difference between our book club and everybody else's is you have to unlock the next class for our book club. And you do that by reading, and within the text, you will get different keywords and different clues, and it will tell you, but you have to read the whole text, and then you unlock the next class to go to the book club. And it just keeps going on, and it takes a child from where they are, wherever they are when it comes to like their learning. I'm sorry, I'm getting all nervous, but yeah, where they are with reading and understanding, comprehension, all those things. And I do partner with other educators and things like that, because for me, I'm coming more from a space of, I know that we need this program. I know we need good teachers. I know tons of teachers and tutors and everything. And so I bring them together, and they will come up with different prompts, and they'll come in and talk about whatever their favorite book is when they were kids, when they were their ages, different things like that. And then they'll just, present it to the child. And when the kids read it and things like that, they basically are able to unlock the next course. They can move on, but we all move on as a course together. So no child is sitting back there.
So who do you feel is utilizing Jump Up for School Book Club the most? Is it homeschool parents? Is it just parents in general who are trying to supplement the literacy teaching that school is not necessarily providing?
Usually it's kind of an array of all those parents. We really do try to focus on the homeschool parents, though, because they need it the most. And they especially need the engagement, because a lot of kids, they lack social skills. And I know probably listening to this, you'll think I do too. But mine is more of, I'm out of my comfort zone because I plan on being at home.
Well, you're definitely in a car and you're holding a phone. So that doesn't make this easy. And now you have no service. So there's that. The service does not, I don't know why, what happened. But just so y'all know, I really don't like interviewing folks when they sit in their car. Just so y'all know. Because it's too many distractions. It looks crazy. I don't know what's going on. And then this happens because we're on the freaking these cell phones. They're not, they're not it. I'll wait for her to come back. But this is so necessary, because I don't think enough of you all stable. Brandon, I could not find that word. I was looking for stable and it was just eluding me. What I think y'all also need to understand, parents who may not, and I know you might be like, you're not a parent, don't say anything. I'm gonna say what I want. School is not enough. School is not doing enough. That's not a shade to the parents. That's not a shade to the teachers. The school is literally not designed to do enough. So you end up having to actually have a curriculum mind around the child. That's not just in extracurricular activities. That's also in how you exist, how you're raised in your home. I will say that I was raised in a home that had a curriculum. I wasn't just going to school. When I was home, there was always education present in my zeitgeist. My room always had books. I was always given toys that had education aspects to them. I always had Sesame Street or picture pages. No, I mean shade, but I always had Zoobilee Zoo. There was always educational programming present for me. And I was also given access to listen to adults speak. So I was also not simply just around students or kids, right? So I was able to also hear adult conversation, and not adult conversation things that are inappropriate, but simply just mature, learned people talking. And I know that is a huge reason to why I also developed the way that I am. My mom never spoke to me like a kid. It's not to say that she didn't have a softness, but she never spoke to me like she would ask me what do you want? So yes, NY is free. I heard more words. And I was always being challenged to think. Like, I remember, because my mom is a nurse, like, I couldn't say someone has a baby in their belly. I had to say they have a baby in their womb. I remember always being corrected with saying, I couldn't say Nakia and me. It's Nakia and I. It's Nakia and I. You know? And then I was also, along with being read to every single night, I was also tested. I don't know if tested is the right word, but my mom had this book called The Student's Companion. And so, you know, she made the concept of learning interesting. So whether it was about learning like types of geography and names of animals, et cetera, like that was always present in my zeitgeist. And then I was always reading at a higher level than the class I was in, because my mom was also always doing additional reading. There was always workbooks. There was always something else. And let me tell you something. If you got to bribe your children, then bribe your children. Do this workbook and I'm going to give you some ice cream. Fine. People be acting like, no, they have to want to do it. No, they don't. No, they don't. You don't want to go to work. You go to work because there's a check on the other side. Now, Latasha, why are you in the car?
I am in the car because I have a husky that is 70 pounds and it's the holidays. So usually super quiet, right? But my neighbors are having people over and he is flipping out. So, and look, and I went to the library. I tried to get a private room. It's booked. And I'm like, this is what it's going to give today? Like, this is what we're doing? Why? And then what's worse is I stayed up like for days. I know exactly, you know, how Jump Up for School works. We help kids write their own books. That's the goal. And basically they unlock chapters as we go. Okay. So we write all together, all in the same room. Even the parents get involved with this.
So this is not simply about reading. It's the fact that literacy is also about writing.
Yes. That's what I do. I wrote my first book in 2010. I self-published, and I learned very quickly that writing is rewriting. You have to, like, no matter how much you think you're paying attention to detail, get those extra people in the room, have focus groups, all that stuff. And we do all of that with the kids, all of that. Editing, writing, they go through the whole process. And we partner with local book clubs, take the kids so they can get, you know, signed books and get the whole author experience. Yeah, that's the goal.
I mean, I think it's so necessary to point out that y'all literacy is also writing, because that's the element I think so much in the US people are missing, right? That you can read, but you can't write, so you can't even understand what you're reading.
That's what it's about. It's the comprehension part. And also memory. Because you can read all day, but if you're not retaining, that memory has to be sharp. So the more you do it, it's like a muscle, you exercise it. That's the main thing. And having educators in the room with the kids, helping them step by step, like, you know, whatever they're missing. And then there's also kids, like we have an 11-year-old, and I tell you, the toughest interview I've ever been on was with the 11-year-old, because she's like, did you read this? And have you read this? And did you read, you know, and she's on it. And she's like, you know, I don't mind helping other kids, but hey, you know, basically I do this. So, and she ran her own book club in her school. So you have to meet, and her mom's watching. So hi, Jazzy and Josie.
Hey, Jazzy and Josie. Jazzy said, do you have the criteria?
Yeah, for real. And I tell everybody that. Her, and then we have a little 2-year-old. He's not in the book club yet. He's 2 years old. But this little boy is so smart. His name is Oakland. Shout out to him and his mom. So sweet, super smart. His mom is an educator. And so, but I also want people to know we have kids that struggle too. So don't think that, you know, oh my gosh, because I just don't put a lot on, oh, my kid is so smart. It's like, are they a good test taker, or, you know, are they really enjoying what they're doing? Because, you know, that's the main thing.
I mean, I was a good short answer test taker.
Okay.
However, once you give me multiple choice, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
You're picking C and getting out of there.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Can I just write an essay? Let me write an essay.
Now, look, that's me. That's me all day. If I can write an essay, and another thing, I know you may not think that today, but usually if I get an interview, I got it. No matter what it is. No matter what it is.
We are fascinated
I can
that you're sitting in. We're fascinating that you're sitting in a car that's not moving, but you have a seatbelt on. That's what we're fascinated about.
Yeah, of course. You know what? I love us.
And listen,
we go eat this up every day.
If that is to hold you, right? Like the seatbelt is just to hold you like a weighted blanket, we respect it.
Let me tell you. Okay, I have a friend and she was in a parked car and somebody just came by and hit her. And the guy flew through the window.
But not her.
His window. But not her. I'm telling you, keep your seatbelt on.
And now we see the cars.
What do they say? It's the law and it's a good idea.
Yo. No,
Yes.
like on my GRE,
Mm-hmm.
I completely tanked on the math, but that was always going to happen. But I got a perfect on the essay.
Right. And you know what? I rarely meet people that are great at both. Rarely. It's either one or the other. But I think and another thing that we do, we talk about our toolbox. Reading is not just I read this type of book, I read this thing, whatever it is literally everything that you put in your toolkit, like anything else. If you want to lose weight, if you want to, whatever it may be, whatever your goal is, you're going to have a toolkit. Even in therapy, when I went through therapy, my therapist was like, you're going to need your toolkit. Are you doing all the things? Are you drinking the water? Are you, all of those things?
So what would you say are some of the toolkits that you're putting together for the kids in terms of literacy?
That we do. The first thing that I do is I tell them that this is a living, moving organism, right? Because I think that you got to try, it is a multi-pronged undertaking, okay? Mm-hmm. So you got to try a lot of things because everything does not work on the same child. Everybody's going to get a syllabus, of course, and just kind of tell them, these are some of the topics that I would like to get to and talk about. But individually, I'm getting to know the child itself. Every child is going to need to know a different thing. So the prompts are going to be different. But I also tell the other kids that are in there, hey, we got to make space for this person, because I think that we really get caught up in, I did this before. I've done that before. So I do a lot of unlearning with my program. It's a whole lot of unlearning, because if you come in there with the attitude of, well, I already know this, so why am I doing this? I do have an exercise where I have them tie their shoe no matter who they are, even if they're learning to do it. And the reason that I do that, and then after I have them tie their shoe, I teach them something new that they don't know. They will have the same reaction, same frustration, same anger, everything with both tasks. And I'm like, so you're mad about something that you've mastered, and you're mad about something you don't know. And it really is a very equal, leveling field.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we need programs that are out of the box, that change, that are not so stringent, because our children aren't stringent. They're human beings, and they're just trying to figure this stuff out, and they're just not where we are. So and I wanted to share this as well. Also, all of us, because there's a few types of learning systems that they tried. The first one it's called structural or standard, right? And that's the one that is where they'll show you the first letter of every word and the last letter of every word, and in a text, right? Okay. And then they want you to look at the picture and assume what that word is. Okay. Don't worry about the middle, right? And they taught people to read based on that. And that's insane to me. That's like teaching on vibes, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
I don't know that that's helpful.
That's not helpful. And they instead of teaching phonics,
I was about to say,
how we learn to read. There you go. They stopped teaching phonics and started teaching that way because a guy said, oh, the kids just need to be around reading and they'll pick it up and they'll get it. And so when you're looking around, and I'm not talking about in a few cities or states, I'm sorry, a few states. No. This was done. Now we had phonics and we had all that, but I do know when my my daughter was young, they were talking about sight words, and I was like, "What? I don't do that.
Not a fan.
No, I don't do that." And they were reading Cat in the Hat, and they were like, 2 and 4. You know what I mean? And I do think that yeah, I mean, I can't even say I think they did a disservice to so many people.
Listen, I'm learning Arabic right now on Duolingo, and I do need to advance to like an actual teacher. However, I can absolutely say that the reason I'm picking it up is because it's a phonetic language, and I learned how to read via phonetics.
Phonics. There you go. There you go. And that's the thing. Like you're not messing with those building blocks. Phonics is just
also English doesn't make enough sense to not learn phonics.
That's what I'm saying. And words are just the fact that he said that you can basically just be around books and people that read and don't worry about the words in the middle. Just put whatever word you want in there. And it's done some detriment. And also just sharing same statistics, same studies. They're saying that people that are in college getting master's degrees and beyond, they're saying that they can't read either. They're not proficient either. And I'm like, what?
Let me tell you.
How does that work?
This is also, you can't write. And now we have texting and chat GPT, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and I think a lot of people are missing about not being able to write is you cannot tell your own story. You cannot speak your own experience. You don't have the language to be able to communicate, right? So like I was teaching an art class at a community center, and I was speaking to the little girls next to me, and she was like, I don't like emotions. I don't like emotions. And I was like, well, I'm aware of this because someone in the class got emotional and you ridiculed them. And she was like, and I was like, so what is a better way that you could have managed that next time where you may feel uncomfortable by someone else being emotional? And she was like, tell them to stop. And I was like, no, that is not the correct answer. However, I was like, I think the reason why you may be uncomfortable with their emotions is because you can't understand them. You don't have a language for them. And that means you don't have a language for your own emotions. And so I was like, that's something that you have to understand is that we're losing communication, and the ability to communicate is so imperative to our capacity to exist at our fullness, right? So you're teaching these children, you're giving these children an opportunity to have a full existence by even giving them the ability to communicate. Now, how are the parents responsive to this? Because I know they learning at the same time.
I've had so many parents come to me and share some things, and I'm like, wait,
about their own literacy experiences?
Yes, about their own literacy, about things like, I didn't really know how to read, but I pretended, and my mom couldn't read, so she didn't know. And so I would just be saying words, and she's like, oh, yep, sounds good. And I would get a whooping if I didn't read. So there's that. A lot of trauma around reading. A lot of teacher hurt.
Yeah.
But also people that had really
wow.
Yeah, and that's what I call it, because it took me so long I always wrote poems and everything. I'm one of those kids, write really sad poems in their room,
I know.
You feel me? And that's why I'm an oversharer and all that. But yeah, so words are very important to me. And when I got in high school, I finally met a teacher, and literally she was awesome. She lived out in the mountains, didn't have a TV, and she was just and I was like, okay, I got to do this. Yeah. That's what I was saying. I got to do this. So yeah. And I think that with the parents, I just hate to hear the word, and they all say it. I just don't want them to be bored. I don't want them to be bored.
They say
They'll
that?
tell me about, oh my God. Like I do in-depth surveys. Okay.
I don't want them to be
Please go.
bored.
Yeah. And they'll tell me about all the behavioral problems, how they're, not paying attention in school, how they're upset or, oh, they're so bad or whatever the case may be. And then the minute I tell them, well, I have this great program and this is what we do. And literally, we help kids do this. And they will be like, well, are they going to be bored?
Let me tell you something. Maybe in my class the other day said he was bored. And I said, maybe it's because you're boring. Maybe
and I think
we got a whole class of art supplies.
Right.
And you bored.
Right.
Guess what?
Right.
He got it together.
Right. And I do think that's like, that word has been used so much. That word was used back in our day. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm bored, or as if it's just this horrible thing. I'm like, you can be bored for a minute, because if you're waiting for somebody else to learn whatever it may be, I'm not saying the whole thing. Like, trust me, we do karaoke. We have so much, because remember, karaoke, you're reading, you're reading the words, and you're seeing the words. Yeah. There's so many different ways to teach kids how to read, you guys. Like, yeah. And so, but I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to be bored. Like,
but
like,
also, like, okay, you're not bored. You're just not stimulated right now. And that's cool too. Like, providing that language. I mean, kids are also these kids are also dealing with a lot more stimulants and distractions, et cetera, than us. So what are some ways that you've had to adjust in how to meet those differences?
Okay, so we have a lot of kids that have some serious things going on at home, right? And for me, I make sure that every single time we have any type of meetup, we have food. I do food, and then we talk, and we do this thing, and it's called pontificating, and it's just a big think. We just sit there and we just think, and we think of ideas, and they don't necessarily want to talk about what's going on at home. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So we do this thing, and I it sounds real bougie, and they get all excited. They think, oh, what is that? And what we're gonna? We're just gonna sit here and think. People need to pontificate. Do some pontificating.
Love it.
Yeah. So there's so many ways you can teach kids. Like, get out there. And this is the thing. We're called Jump Up for School, not because we think that I never want to be a school. I don't ever want to be dealing with the rules, and you can't teach this because you're teaching that, or
which
who
is not
you can
what
teach.
School should even be. I mean,
that's not what it should be. No. The minute you get caught up in the, oh, I'm gonna go whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Nonprofit or whatever you're gonna do. The minute you do that, you're literally just subject to, okay, well, only these kids get to go here, and only they get to do this. And it's just like, okay, if I'm frustrated because I'm not doing good in a class, and maybe I don't like who I'm sitting next to or whatever, the last thing that I need to do is to come home or whatever, or go to a program and be told, nope, you can't do it. Nope, you can't participate. You don't have the grades up. You don't know why. We need more people to focus on the people that need the help, no matter what.
You guys, so address your questions to Ms. Marchand. You know how we do in this classroom. You know how we do in this class. We say Ms. Marchand, et cetera, while you were doing that. So I'm in the process of developing this character and a project called Rara's Radical Readers. And I'm trying to figure out. So the idea is that every episode she'll do a book report about a radical children's book, and she'll always do a song. And this is Rara.
Oh, she's so cute. She's so
this
cute.
Is Rara. And so I'm still like figuring it out and what I want the episodes to consist of. So my first question to you is, in a space of literacy, So I love that you said pontificate. So one, I love that it was just like the kids are thinking, but two, I have to have every episode a segment. We do a word of the week episode segment here,
Okay.
but there always has to be a word of the show segment.
Yes.
You know, where we're using the word, and I mean, on Sesame Street, there used to be like the word of the day, or I mean, the letter of the day or whatever.
The letter of the day, yeah.
It would be filtered
Yeah.
throughout the show. So I want to do that with a word. But I wanted to know if you had any other tips that you feel like should be included in my little show that you think is really helpful to kids and parents around literacy.
Yes. Okay, around literacy. Okay, I'll make it about literacy because I had a tip for him that it was really good that I think. Okay, and this just goes to how kids think. Okay, so if you have a small kid, and I got this from Super Nanny years and years ago. Okay, if you have a small child and you take them outside, well, before you go outside, it's cold outside, whatever, and you want to put on their jacket. Take that child outside because when they're in the house, it's warm, so they don't understand why you're putting a jacket on them. Take them outside, let them feel a little bit of the cold. They'll know they'll need a jacket. That's a tip. Because they don't understand. Why are you putting a jacket on me and I'm warm? They don't get that. So
how do I... So translate that to me in this context.
Okay.
I got to make a kid understand. I got to create the scenario for them to understand the point.
Yes. Really curious minds, adults and children, they need to know the why. I'm a person, I need to know the why. Some kids, they're just do it.
People hate me for that. They hate me.
Amanda, let me tell you, that's why when I wrote under your comment, I said, you need your flowers, girl. You need your flowers. Because people don't understand. Like, I feel like in a way, we're not the same, but we have so many similarities in the facts of when I tell you, like, I am always the one that's standing up or saying something out of turn. I'm the person that's always like, no, we can't do that. Yeah, they're like, oh, here she comes. Oh, she's gonna tell us that I don't like the way you do that. I don't know, especially when it comes to kids. I'm the first one to be like, no, advocate for them.
Listen, I done almost got not an advocate in a grocery store over somebody's child.
Yes.
Why are you talking to that baby like that? The baby is too.
If you want to make me mad,
look, no, your business is happening in front of my face. If you wanted me to mind my business, you'd have made it my business. That's a 2-year-old that you're yelling to stop touching things. The baby should be touching anything it can.
I'm telling you, at my job I used to be at, I'm telling you, it would be like, I don't know, we would get like 1,400 parents a week. Every single day, we would get like tons of people, and I can count on one hand who I would let watch my kids. And not to be that like, it's not abuse. It's like they forget almost something's going on. Yeah,
as an adult, I mom, like, who the hell were you talking to? I was 12.
Yeah. And kids, they need to feel a sense of respect too. And it never happens. No. Just that sentence alone, people are, what are you talking about? Like, no, they really do, you guys. We have to, they need their sense of, they're still a person. I'm going
to give a homework assignment at the end of each episode for the parents to do with their kids. A writing assignment. Because I feel like I forgot about the writing element. That it's not just about reading. I forgot about the writing element.
No. And especially if you get them to write about something they're interested in, like themselves or whatever, because a lot of times we want to shove a book in their face. I'm telling you, they want to talk about them most of the time, or they absolutely don't. It's one of the other.
Let me just say something. I'm at a point in my life where I really just want to tell my mom about what I'm doing. And she wanted to talk about politics. I'm like, I called you to talk about myself.
Oh yeah. So
I know how
absolutely.
I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't want to talk about Kamala Harris, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking about that.
And what you do all day.
No.
Yeah.
I'm calling you to tell you about what I got going on. That's what the conversation is. So she had to kind of accept it. And the minute it veers off, I'm like, no.
I was putting together, I don't know why I keep saying literally when I said I need to take that out of my vocabulary, but here we go.
We all have crutches. My crutches,
We do. We
my
do.
crutches,
Yeah.
and like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I'm such a valley girl.
Like,
And then she was like, and then I was like, and it
Mhm.
was like, what?
It's that California thing. It's the California.
It is Cali.
It gets to you. Yeah. But I was gonna tell you, and then I forget. Jeez.
No, you just opened up
I
a
was
whole
like-
world for me because when
Mhm.
so I'm gonna talk while you remember because it'll come since you're not
Okay.
thinking about it. So when I
Okay.
was researching for this show,
Mhm.
I was looking up like book report assignments, right? So
Mhm.
just to see like what they would ask for kids. And the book, oh my God, my dog is that's FedEx. He sees
Hey,
this
look,
man all the
and-
time.
That's why I'm not at home right now, because that's
Right.
what my dog is doing constantly. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at these book report assignments and they're all super duper 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 basic, right? They're just like
Mhm.
setting, characters, like what happens in the book. And I'm like, that's not a book report. That's just
Right.
like I don't even know what to call that. But it made me say, like, I want to design one that is actually more involved. Because what I really am starting to realize is that so much of our learning in terms of academia and intellectualism is very disaligned and disconnected from morality, from ethics, from principles, and from
Yes.
values, right? And
Yes.
we seem to
Yes.
only see that thinking in like religious schools, so to speak. But even that is just
Mhm.
a very, very narrow mindset.
It is. It is.
I think I
Especially.
I think I was very fortunate to have teachers who would be like, this was the right thing to do, like for a character, right? Like they would
Yep.
actually like attach morality and attach like
Yes.
ethics and life lessons. And so when we're
Yes.
reading these books with our kids, it's not just about being able to read, it's about reading between the lines and also being able to understand the allegory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. They had college professors that were saying, these kids don't know compare and contrast. And you want me to try to teach them, about world history or anything like that? And also, a lot of people they say, oh, well, present the information and let them make their own decision. He says, no, somebody needs to guide them, because when they see actual facts, they're like, no, because they think that facts are up to their interpretation, and they're not. And then what's even worse, they think that's what critical thinking is. If it's up to their interpretation, and that we have a lot of cracks. A lot of cracks.
This is so, like you're a blessing in many ways, but me selfishly, I'm gonna say you're a blessing for this project I'm working on, because I know that I have to like fill a gap.
Mhm.
I've decided that I'm going to save the world. So I have to fill so I have to fill a gap with this that that is missing. So like you have like Miss Rachel, who really gets to the kids in terms of
yes,
like she provides a disciplinary element to it, but she also provides like social skills, but she also provides like just like an entryway into understanding what is what, right? However, the critical thinking aspect that's not necessarily like her jam, but that is something that I'm trying to figure out how to implement, because I want this show to be multi-generational. I want you as a parent to want to watch, because you also like, let me hone my little skills. And so when you talk about comparing contrast, it's like my character Rara, she needs to not just be talking about characters as this is the character. She needs to implement compare and contrast. She is the protagonist. She is the antagonist, right? Like these types of things.
Absolutely.
Facts or opinion. Name 3 facts from this book. Name an opinion from this book. Like these types of things. And these are so, these are things that you're pointing out to me that I just do by rote, because I was trained. But that you're right. In the breakdown, it's like we got to break it down back to fundamentals. Yes.
Everything, because you will already said it a million times, but it's the fundamentals. Okay. So you tie your shoe. Just always remember the anger and frustration that people feel with very basic things. It's why we have the explosions of the Karens and the MAGAs and the whole shebang. And even, like people in our own lives. Some people, you can't tell them like, hey, you're driving a little fast. They just, what are you talking about? They snap your, ready to
Oh
snap your
my
head off.
God.
We got to deal with that. And a lot of it is the I know. I call it the I know disease. It's the I know. I
have the I know disease.
know. We all do. It's the, I wanted to call it first world, but I've been calling this place third world lately,
This is a fifth world. This is a fifth world company.
Yeah, we're in a whole different dimension. We're not even in the galaxy right now.
They done made up a whole other version of whackness, which is really discomforting for a lot of people, like, because they're realizing like, oh, it is bad. Like, I didn't just make it up. Yeah. So we have a question from the great Carmeng, who says, Miss Marchand is teaching, who, by the way, is demonstrating to you all exactly how I want questions to be written. Ms. Marchand, is teaching the story graph important? Characters, plot, conflict, climax resolution to help with critical thinking. I believe it is. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Even when we're not only just talking about, teaching to build a story or anything like that, everything that you do, we talk about character building and world building, and does it make sense? And it has to have a conflict. You have to have a character that, before it was just like, oh, you got to have the boy that likes the girl and the whole shebang. But I'm trying to get kids away from that. I think that, and I'm not a rude, like, oh, kids should be. I'm just saying,
other stories.
There's other stuff. Like, there's so many things to write about, and why do we got to go back to that? So, yeah, I'm telling you guys, like, I feel personally, just with the people that I've partnered with, and the development of this, it's a really, really good thing. And I tell people, and they also say, if your child is not reading, to the level that they're supposed to by 4th grade, do you know that they say that it's pretty much done? And I'm like, absolutely no, it's not. They say it's extremely difficult to teach you. Well, we got a lot of teaching to do, and we want to get those 1st through 4th in there as well, because look at what we're, I mean, if this is what's the root, or one of the roots of all this, let's get it out now. I've been wanting to for so long, and I called so many preschools. And if I would have recorded it, the lady who recorded when she was calling the churches?
Yeah.
If I would have recorded me calling these preschools, schools, all this stuff, they basically told me, we have our own program. No, we don't need it. Heard the whole spiel, and it wasn't all, how it's been here, but, heard the whole thing. And they said, we do our own thing. And I was literally floored. I was like, I'm looking at
and
your,
you don't do your
the
own
statistics.
Thing.
You don't. What you're doing is not working, but you want to keep doing it. And then you expect kids to show up. The teachers are bankrupt because they're like depleted, because they're trying to teach. Think about all the things that I broke down today. They're teaching, piece by piece to 30 something kids up, either a class, or, if they're changing, it's just a lot.
And
we have a lot of challenges.
You do, if you're damn, you don't, right? Like, so you'll have a class, and like some of those kids in that class, they may not be as advanced, so you're leaving them behind. But then you have kids in the class who are more advanced, and you're also leaving them behind.
You are.
Then you have the kids who are limited by other things, whether it's neurodivergence or ADHD or what's going on at home, et cetera, et cetera. Like, everybody gets left behind because there just isn't enough. And I find that there's like you said, the I know is so often attached to capitalism too, right? Because it's like, if we take on another program, then it makes us look like we're not effective, and like it's like a weird skewed
ego. I'm telling, the best thing I ever did for myself is to drown, like, seriously, drown the ego. Yeah, we have to, because I'm telling you, and it stems from being highly criticized. One of the reasons, of course, I'm not a psychologist, but that's what I've heard, you guys. It stems from being constantly criticized. You get to where you have a hyper, like, inflated sense, because you're protecting yourself. I see you protecting yourself all day, all day. Yes. all day. And but it always takes one to know. I get it. Because I used to do a radio show, and of course I didn't have any type of audience how you do, but I'm saying I used to do a radio show for like 10 years. I did ASMR before people were even doing it. And now look at it. It's just exploded, right? But I like the calmness of it. I had to, I was trying to tame the beast because I can be a mess. Not so much anymore, but back in the day, you guys.
Listen, I mean, but that's growth. That's maturation, Like I was talking about that this morning on Patreon, just about how in the past there would be things that I felt, but I didn't have the language for, which brings us back to communication, right? And so I would end up still going forth with a red flag because I didn't trust my feeling, and I also didn't have language. So I would just doubt that I had a real reason to not go forth. But then the red flag would blossom into a red bouquet, and you're like, oh, that's what that was. All right, let's take another question. Okay. Olivia says, what are your thoughts with children who are dyslexic? Are there toolkits for them?
There are toolkits for everybody, and any type of dyslexia, any of those challenges are, well, let me not say all to it, because there's definitely things. I don't like to make things seem so easy. You need to take a little bit more time with them. And that's why what I call like the bonus program, like mine or something like that, is so important, because they have to take their time. And also, just because you're giving space as far as the other kids being bored, just because you're giving space to someone who's struggling doesn't mean you have to do nothing. That's not what I'm saying. Like they're waiting for this person or anything like that. We have other activities that they can be engaged with.
That also teaches compassion, though.
That's what I want to teach, and compassion so much, because it's so lacking. It's so lacking.
Compassion. It teaches consideration. You don't have
and they're
to
rushed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and kids are rushed all day. Keep in mind, they said years ago, kids shouldn't be starting school before, like all this up at the crack of dawn at 5 a.m. Kids are not wired that way. So a lot of times your kids are tired, like you got them in this and this and this. They're tired, y'all.
Your girl used to be tired in that school.
I'm telling you. And I'm an insomniac. I've always been my whole life. Oh, wow. So I'm like going to, and literally, because I have, like, as anybody could tell, you guys know I got ADHD, So, and like everybody, but I'm telling you, like, staying up all night and all that stuff, and then you got to go to school, and you're like, what? Like, I gotta be a person, right?
Right. I gotta,
and then on the weekend, and then if you get a parent that's churched and they want to church you,
not church you as a verb.
They want to church you, because I told you we're unlearning a lot of things.
Yes, we are. We have another question from @Theo88. Miss Marchand, do you have to be in San Bernardino to volunteer or participate with your literacy program?
Absolutely not. We actually are virtual right now, so you don't have to be in San Bernardino at all. But I do ask that anybody that comes and volunteers, one thing with everything with me is joy. No matter what's going on, if you have that joy and you love kids, and not in the creepy way, because we do got that stuff going on. Please contact me. And one thing I want to also say before I leave, I really am probably going to have to do a GoFundMe, because I want to install these cameras that you can watch your child at any time, any parent, is not in the restroom or something like that, but you can watch your child and know that your child is okay and safe. And that's for the people that are going to be in person with anybody that's with Jump Up for School.
Got it. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Marchand, thank you so much. People, if you want to get involved with Jump Up for School, you can go to jumpupforschoolbookclub.com. Is that accurate?
You know what? I want to just tell them, go to jumpupbookclub@gmail, because we're redoing our website, Jump Up Book Club,
and just send you a message,
and just send me one, and you'll have it. Yeah, you'll have it too. So so Jump Up Book Club, you guys. That's another thing. My prices are very affordable. So yeah, and people were mad at me about that. So because it's not a come up for me.
They were mad
It's
at
a
you. What do
mission.
you mean?
So okay. So where I worked, without doxing myself, that's what they did. They actually provide the funding for childcare and things like that, right? So that's why I was able to survey so many kids and stuff like that, and parents. And so when I came up with my program, they were like, "Why is it so cheap?" And I was like, well, because they were expecting, these high end prices. And I said, well, I have always, everything I've ever made has been for working poor or, under, you know what I mean? That's what it's always been about for me. And they had a huge problem with that. And I think that's because maybe they thought I was going to impede on what they had going on. Maybe they thought I should go and compete with higher, in places. I have no idea.
So they were upset with you that you weren't charging more.
Yeah. Not my job. I don't want to say that, but when I interacted with parents, not my job. My job was just so happy that for me, pretty much. Yeah. But no, people that and a lot of the daycares. Yes. Yeah.
That's
because
weird.
They think that it should be like $600 and $700 a week, like daycare. And I'm like, we only meet like once a week. It's not, it's an hour.
Daycare is already overpriced. Everything
Exactly.
is
Way overpriced. But it's all the prices have to come down, like everything. I mean, everything. It's just crazy. Yeah. But no, I try to make it super affordable. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you. Shout out to your dog. What's your dog's name?
My husky, his name is Van Helsing.
Shout out to Van Helsing out here killing the vampires, doing what needs to be done. And thank you for being on a mission, not a come up. So you all, this is what needs to happen. And I think a lot of people also feel like, you have to have some big organization to be able to make an impact, to be able to create these programs, but that's what it's going to be. This is also a part of community building. It's not just feeding people. It's not just housing people. We also have to be teaching each other.
Yeah, we're in charge of the next generation, you guys. So it's just us. We all we got.
We all we got.
We all we got.
Thank you so much, Latasha. And shout out to also keeping us abreast that we should have the seatbelt across our breasts, even if we are in a stationary car. All right.
That's right. Things happen. Stay safe out there.
She said, stay safe out there. Man, that was awesome. Literacy. We are in the 12:30 hour. It's 12:30 right here at Views from AmandaLand. Shout out to everybody who has been joining us here on this Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Our question of the week, our bonus question is, how and when did you learn that Thanksgiving was not what you were taught in school? So want you to leave that in the comments below and be a part of that. So, we are about to get into our 60-second headlines. So we have a lot more show left, just so y'all know. We have 60-second headlines. We've got possibly a Black Current News. And we definitely have a Black Current News. And we also have a critical thinking exercise. But I want to get into our How Black Do You Feel today? How black do you feel today?
Because for you to move from the problem to solution, that's a process of thinking. Since they're not allowed to think, so they jump. You're supposed to jump from problem to solution. But who did the thinking that produced the solution you're implementing? It's the West. So what the West is really saying is, here is the solution. Why are you thinking? Why are you wasting your time thinking? Will the woman in the village care whether you're thinking or not? What they want is a solution. And really what they are telling us is that the solution has already been thought for us. So you adapt it and implement it. Bill Gates said that about, what's her name? Dambisa Moyo. And Dambisa Moyo is a fairly conservative thinker. But even her, she was told she's evil. There's that clip where he's saying, how dare you think about this process of exploiting Africa? What Africans need are tablets. You see, that's the other reason that's how he thinks about disease. We need tablets. We don't need research. We don't need to think about what our problem is. What we need is a tablet. I have produced the tablet, distribute it. So if now you as an African say, but wait a minute, this disease is coming from an environmental thing. We need to start, what will you be told? That's out of your league. What do you mean environmental solutions? That's not for you people. That's for us to figure it out. Yeah. What does a woman in the village being poisoned by nuclear waste need? She needs the nuclear waste to go. So these questions you have about how did the nuclear waste come to Africa? No, that's not for you. Thinking is not for you. That's for us to do, and then we'll tell you what to implement. It's thinking. Racism does not consider Black people thinking people. So they are always trying to remove the thinking element from anything they do and to give us solutions, and then we implement.
I mean, I really felt like that was also really in tune with what William was talking about today, and just the idea that I just ran up and down the stairs 3 times, y'all. I'm like, and Global Sister said that's the problem with NGOs. And I agree, because NGOs really go into these places. They don't work with the people who are actually there. They come in, they're like, we're going to solve this. And this is why there's such a difference between between allies and co-conspirators. Because allies come in there and they basically tell you, this is your problem and we're going to fix it. It has a saviorism about it that is really not helpful in any shape, way, or form. And that saviorism is deeply problematic because it also doesn't allow people to be able to save themselves. So then what happens is the NGO gets to be able to stay there because they have the problem continually. And an NGO is really just a corporation that gets its money from other corporations versus from the people. So they may not create the problem, but they will absolutely sustain and maintain the problem. And they don't, quote unquote, teach the people how to fish, because then what would be the use of you? So this is a very common thing. And people were asking me this woman's name, and I'm about to tell you in 2 seconds. I actually don't know this woman's name, but she was making sense. Okay. She was making sense. So shall we get into our 60-second headlines? Are we ready? Should we do it? Let's go.
60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
All right. So first up in our 60-second headlines is some actual positive news. North Carolina has officially divested from Israel. North Carolina has sold all 6.4 million of Israeli government bonds held in the state pension fund. Amanda, what are government bonds? So government bonds are basically like investments that are issued by a government to fund projects or cover deficits. It's essentially you being a part of their Ponzi. Investors give a government money, okay? And then the government holds that money to put to things that it's not actually paying for with real money. And then you get interest off of them getting to use your money to apply to real things. So for those who don't realize, we are in a debt-based economy. And that debt-based economy means it's a lot of fake money that's actually making real things happen. And the most of the real things that are happening are not for actual real people. However, in this case, what happened is that 40 organizations, unions, and faith groups, including Break the Bonds and the Triangle North Carolina JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, they built a coalition and they made this happen. And they now join Michigan, Minnesota, 6 Ohio counties, the United Methodist Church, and others in divestment from Israeli government bonds. So what this is saying is that they have divested from being invested in Israel's infrastructure growth via bonds. Is this making sense? Because this is what don't get me wrong, there's so many other levels. However, this is one level, right? You're divesting the money from being able to be used to advance. So the students at Columbia University and the rest of these universities who were protesting, saying they want divestment from Israel, were saying, we don't want our money that we are paying tuition for to be used as investment in Israel. And in some cases, you have schools who are invested in the market, who are invested in bonds. You have schools who are invested in weapons manufacturing, etc. Why schools are able to do this, I have no idea. Nonetheless, that is a way that divestment is happening. And some of the organizers have said that it is the BDS movement, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, that led them down this path. And I want to point out that unfortunately, people just seem to disregard the small steps because they seem to think that if it isn't like the thing that makes the whole thing come crumbling down, then it's pointless. However, what I want to point out, though, is that this is yet another step that these folks have taken in North Carolina to chip away at what so many have just decided is an irremovable connection between Israel and the United States. And it's just simply not. It's just simply not. And the fact that something has only existed for this connection to the United States has been since 1948, and people are acting like it is just forever. It's never going to change. It has to exist. Like, it hasn't even existed for the majority of the existence of this country. So shout out to them and shout out to coalition building. And can you use a broken system to fix a broken system? You can use a broken system to break a system. You see, the thing is that the system that's in place is not broken. It's functioning exactly how it's supposed to. So the system is not broken. It needs to get broke. All right, let's move on to our next story. That's the end of the good news. So the United States continues to be a colonialist tyrant. It is no surprise. We've been talking about the Venezuela situation, right? We've been talking about how they created a completely fabricated story of Venezuela being a drug trafficker, and thus they have to go in and shut down Venezuela and do regime change in Venezuela. Now, they stuck with this for all of what, maybe a month before the real truth has started pouring out of their mouths like actual verbal diarrhea. It's actually low-key fascinating, the way in which it just seems to come out of their mouths. Nonetheless, I want to play this video for you all. And I don't know why this video didn't make it over to my computer. So hold on one second. I'm about to send it on. Send it up. Send that groove. Send it right back. So, Why is it not working? Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Would love to see a change in government. My wife's from Nicaragua. We know how
Yes,
terribly
I know.
the dictators there rely on Venezuelan oil. But at the same time, a lot of Americans don't want actual U.S. participation in regime change in Venezuela. They would much prefer the Venezuelans to do it on their own. Do you think the pressure that Maduro has received will force him to leave on his own?
Oh, I think Maduro is not Fidel Castro. Maduro is not a brave boy. So now that he has understood that he's on that very nefarious list of the terrorist organization, that the airspace above Venezuela has been closed off and the commercial airlines from the United States are not flying, he's understanding that we're about to go in. He understands that he has been our enemy for the last 25 years. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, basically for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day.
I want you to let that sink in real quick.
Because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives.
So what I mentioned about NGOs and the getting contracts for helping things, but then never actually solving them, is a practice that the United States does consistently with contracts outside of the country. I mean, it does it here too. However, we see it in a very real way in the way colonialism does with resources. It also uses assistance as a resource that it continues to steal from. A great example of this is Puerto Rico. The grid in Puerto Rico has been problematic. It's knocked out every time there's a storm, and it has supposedly been contracted out to be fixed for a very long time. The companies that have been contracted out to fix it, they don't fix it, but they continue to keep the contracts. And that is the practice of the United States and the corruption that happens in this government. And she's saying straight up, this is what we're going to do in Venezuela. We're going to go in and we're going to contract out American contractors to fix Venezuela. That doesn't make any sense. And it is also deeply problematic to the nation of Venezuela, but also to the actual entire continent of South America. And what it also does is it supplants Americans in their infrastructure. It creates an expatriate community there that now gives the United States reason to be able to come in and invade or do whatever they want, which is what they did in Grenada. There is a actual medical school in Grenada. And when Maurice Bishop was using his connection with Cuba to create infrastructure in Grenada, to build the airport properly in Point Salines, which is now Maurice Bishop Airport, etc. They said, oh no, they're about to connect in Venezuela as well. And they're going to have a whole communist socialist movement in the Caribbean. Absolutely not. We're going into Grenada and we're going to use the reasoning as, well, because we have American students at the medical school in Grenada. So that's why we're able to go in there. Now, Grenada depends on the medical school for so much that they are then intrinsically tied to the United States, which is deeply problematic. But the United States knows this. They know that they have these small nations that they can plant a parasitic seed in, and it looks like symbiosis. In addition to what the United States is doing in Venezuela, they are also doing efforts in Honduras. So, walk with me. Progressive International reports that the U.S. is doing the practiced work of, again, creating a false narrative to support its efforts of destabilization and destruction. Actually, before I go on, I want to say this. Exactly what we talked about that's happening in the Sahel states, where they ousted France and said, we actually don't need you. We're going to handle this. That is absolutely what the Caribbean needs to do as well. The Caribbean needs to create its own sovereignty in connection with each other. The reason why the Trinidad Prime Minister is going along with the U.S., I can promise you, is because Venezuela has been acting up. Venezuela tried to encroach on land in Guyana, and Venezuela also tried to encroach on oil in the Trinidad and Tobago waters. That's not okay. However, there was no cohesion amongst the CARICOM Caribbean states, Caribbean countries, that would be able to challenge Venezuela in doing that. So instead, it went to Big Brother, who is actually an evil stepbrother, the United States, to get muscle. And that is wholly problematic because the United States, we know, is never working in the interests of anyone besides itself. And when I say itself, I mean the oligarchy. Now, someone, Mimi, said, how does the U.S. government know exactly how to invade all these countries? Are they doing the research nonstop on what country to invade next and how best to do it? Yes. Constantly and on a regular basis. So there's a woman who does a great TED Talk on civil war. And she does like a really quick TED Talk on civil wars and how these civil wars be starting. And she very casually at the beginning of her TED Talk says that she is contracted by the CIA and the FBI to give them a heads up on who's looking most ripe for civil war. And she has a whole template on what are determinant factors of civil war. And basically there's like a metric, you know how there's like the orange level, red level, etc. She has that metric that she goes by. And so there was a constant intelligence gathering that is happening. People are planted all over the world. People are absolutely operatives. I mean, the show Homeland is a perfect example of this. Carrie on Homeland is a CIA operative to bring back intelligence to the United States about what is happening on the ground in countries so that they know exactly where to go, exactly who to disrupt, exactly who to destabilize. Another example of this is if you watch the show Andor. This season, in the storyline of Gore, the planet of Gore, there's a whole storyline about the fact that the way that we're going to destabilize this country is we have to have somebody in there who is an operative that is feeding us information from their resistance groups. They do this all day long. They do this all day long. That is how they stay alive. And that is why the political education ends up being so necessary, because the political education can also build up people being able to challenge and not be swept up into this nonsense. Another good book to read is Washington Bullets by Vijay. I can never pronounce his last name. Hold on. Rolando, put it in the chat. By Vijay Prashad. I always want to say Prashankar, and that's not what it is. So I was talking about Honduras, and basically Honduras is on the brink of the U.S. being on some new BS as well. This is very disrupting and disturbing to me because it is, once again, the time loop that I told you. We are in that time loop in so many ways, and in Central America is no exception. So there was a coup in in Honduras in 2009 that the U.S. is rumored, aka factually, was a part of. Okay. This coup that took place in 2009 was executed with the coordination of U.S. military officials, support from Washington, and it removed a democratically elected president. And it unleashed more than a decade of an authoritarian drift. So you just had over and over and over again dictators and people just coming in trying to get some semblance of power. But this is now getting reared back up because Honduras, which is right here, okay, so it is between El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala. I love saying Tegucigalpa. Tegucigalpa. The capital of Honduras is Tegucigalpa. Tegucigalpa. So you see where it is in proximity to Mexico. You see where it is in proximity to the countries that the U.S. claims are the site of all the migrants. So last week, that same lady who you just saw, okay, she hosted folks in D.C., Honduran political figures, including presidential candidate Salvador Nasralla. So that lets you know that's who's going to be the puppet, okay? Salvador Nasralla. He was invited to the United States by that same lady to have a meeting. You already know that's the puppet. The meeting, by the way, was chaired by that lady, and it was supposedly an intervention in Latin America, framed as an urgent assessment of the situation in Honduras, when really it was a preemptive, aka manufacturing consent, questioning of the legitimacy of their electoral institutions. They're already casting doubt on the democratic process. So you see, they start this up. They plant the seed of the lie. If you've ever read Othello, the turning point in Othello is when Othello and Iago are standing around, they chit-chat and hanging out. And then Cassio, who is like a very handsome but very harmless dude that's like in the castle, is seen talking to Desdemona, who is Othello's wife. And Iago, being a little messy one, says to Othello, I like not that. That plants a seed in Othello like, wait, you feel like that's a problem? He's like, yeah, I mean, why are you talking to her? Mind you, Othello wasn't even tripping before. Othello was like, that's Desdemona, that's my girl, that's my wife, like, I love her. I'm a Moor, she a white girl, but we making it happen. No, Iago was like, let me cast some doubt, because Iago is trying to take over. He's trying to get power. This is very Littlefinger behavior. This is what the U.S. does. This is manipulation. This is COINTELPRO. This is all that behavior. This is This is psyops. COINTELPRO will create disorganization and destabilizing between Black leaderships of different factions of the Panthers and different organizations by doing the same I like not that thing. They would just like drop a little dime, like, he looked like he trying to take over your spot. And that right there triggers the brain. Like, what I believe is that humans are not evolved. Like, they'll say humans are evolved because we like live in societies or whatever. That's not true. Whales live in societies, right? Dolphins live in societies. Like, lions live in societies. They'll say humans are evolved because, oh, we have language. Well, other animals have language. Like, again, dolphins have language. Whales have language. Elephants have language. So that's not that. They'll say humans are evolved because we write. Okay, because we write. I will say this. Humans are not evolved because we write. That's just something that we do that they don't do. Other animals do things that we don't do. What I will say is that I don't believe humans will be evolved as a species until we evolve out of that animalistic wiring of looking at vulnerability as a way to capitalize. Until we evolve out of the animalistic wiring of always feeling like the prey or the predator. Like, the fact that all it takes is for someone to cast a shade of doubt for you to be like, oh, I'm over it. I'm off it. Like, we about to turn up. Like, that's scary. That's not strong. That's not strength of mind. That's wiring. That is a chink in the armor of your wiring. That is a vulnerability of your wiring. And somebody knows that and said, I'm going to capitalize on that. So that's why when I talk about the work that I'm doing as I'm on the book tour, the work is to try to decolonize us and strengthen our wiring to not be susceptible to these types of behaviors, these types of manipulations. You have to find out where your vulnerabilities are, where your weaknesses are, where your triggers are, so that you can, where your triggers are, so that you can be in control of how you are able to be susceptible and manipulated. And our movements are consistently susceptible to be manipulated because they have vulnerabilities in these places. And I deduce that a number of these vulnerabilities would be solved if we had deeper connection to spirituality and indigenous knowledge. These are the vulnerabilities of a capitalist, of a opportunist, of a patriarchal society. I'm kind of cooking right now. I'm kind of cooking. Look at her wrist. Look at her wrist. Look at her wrist. Listen, I got thoughts. If y'all just let me think, listen, this is the first time in almost 2 years where I'm not writing. Because, you know, when you're writing a project, it's like having an app that's always on, draining your battery. Because even when you're not writing, you know you're supposed to be writing. So it's just always on. So this is the first time where I don't have an app draining my thoughts all day. It's not draining my energy all day. So I have a little bit more. Like last night, I had 3 hours where I didn't have anything immediate to do. So I was able to think. I was able to draw. I was able to ideate. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get the calendar together for this year. I'm going to stick to my plan where I'm going to make a What Would the Ancestors Say coloring book workbook. And I think y'all are going to enjoy that just as much, by the way. So as we're talking about Honduras, Venezuela, etc., I want to shout out the Honduran people, because as this is happening, right, the Honduran people are continuing to show democratic resolve. They're mobilizing peacefully, but mobilizing for their rights. They're defending their votes. They're getting extreme intimidation. And they're really trying to chart a path for political renewal. And so we have to continue to lift them up as we lift ourselves up and really deconstruct the wall that separates politics from livelihood and lifestyle. We're pontificating out here! That is one of the key things that we have to do. We have to break down that Berlin Wall, that Rassa wall, that border wall between politics and living. It is fake, it is false, and it is not made for you. There's a lyric in the song Cell Therapy by Goody Mob. And they say, sometimes I wonder, was the wall built to keep folks out or to keep us in? Say that. Okay, someone said stop telling people what to do. So I have kicked them out. This is literally my show. I can tell people whatever I want. You can just leave. But I removed them, so they left. All right. The reason why this political information is also, this political education and the work that the Hondurans are doing is also so necessary is because this is able to happen. This United States nonsense is able to happen because there's still so many people that are, one, livelihood intrinsically, like they're inextricably linked to the United States. That's a fact. But also, two, because people still believe that the United States is like moral or like they know what they're doing, or like they're coming from some type of high horse of vibration. And it's just simply not true. By no means. There's literally no example. Like I had a meeting. I'm looking for a logistics company so I can take fulfillment off of my plate, because I would be able to do much more work for the people if I didn't have to do the fulfillment for my products, because that is what allows me to be able to do the work for the people. So I'm trying to find a fulfillment company. And ideally, I don't want to use a big company. I would ideally like to use an individually owned company. And so I had a call with this person, and he's from Canada. And I was like, well, I understood the logistics. I understood how the company works. But then I said, so what are your politics? Because I need to understand what's your, who I'm working with. And he was like, well, I don't have politics. I'm from Canada. And I was like, oh, and he was like, but I will say this. Your country is the best country in the world. Isabel, if you genuinely want to figure out how to make this happen, because I think about it a lot and you've said it before, if you genuinely want to figure it out, DM me. And when he said that, both me and Thea were like, ah. And I was like, no. And I was like, why do you think that? And he was like, because you have everything. You have all the things. And to be quite honest, when someone says that they don't have politics, I don't consider that to be a good answer. When they're like, I take all products. I don't have any judgments about products. Oh, I thought you were sending me the eyes, Isabel, because you had mentioned before that you wanted to help. You were like, I really wish I could help you with logistics. So I thought the eyes was about me saying I'm looking for an individually owned contractor to handle logistics. That's what I thought the eyes were. But now I realize that the eyes were me saying something about the guy. So I ended up saying, my gut was like, no, you can't work with this person. But that's really a thing. People really think this country is like very special. So we're sitting here talking about how the United States is infringing upon a democratic election in Honduras. This is not the first time. And yet people still think that the elections in the United States are fair. Make it make sense. Can someone help me make it make sense? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. That's not a logical thought process. It just isn't. The reality is that if they're doing it everywhere else, they're starting here. They practiced it here before they went anywhere else, probably. So Tiny Spicy Pickle says, so they're neutral? And here's the thing. Nobody's neutral. Nobody's neutral. Nobody's neutral. Because if someone comes to them from a non-neutral party and has something to say to them about me, they're going to be like, oh, all right, we'll just remove her. Nobody's neutral. That's why, like, when I do shows and I do events, etc., I have to be very particular about where I do these things, because I need to do them with folks who are not neutral. Folks who have an actual backbone and a big stick. When he said that, my immature brain went out and I had to snatch it back. My immature brain went many places and I had to snatch it back. Okay. So next up, I don't know if you all know this, but the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they have just approved PFAS. So PFAS are basically forever chemicals. They're chemicals that they have not scientifically figured out how to remove. They cause cancer, they cause asthma, they cause all types of health issues. And the Trump administration has just moved to approve a new pesticide that has the forever chemical as an active ingredient. Please tell me why we even have new pesticides that are being made with this. So it contains a chemical called isocycloserum, and it would be used for agricultural crops, for turf and ornamentals. It's also not just used for industrial and commercial, it's also used for domestic sites. This is just like Roundup. We saw the cases of cancer that came from Roundup. They lost mad money, not that it even matters to them, but we lost mad people because of using this very particular type of pesticide. And here we have these people doing it all over again. This is the fifth PFA pesticide ingredient that the EPA has proposed for approval during Donald Trump's second term. He hasn't even been in office for an hour. I mean, that's for a year. He hasn't even been in office for a year. And I want to remind you that in other countries, they do not even allow our food there because it is so treated with chemicals. So some of the things they're going to be using this on are like broccoli, long grass, and some of the cancers that the CDC has linked to these types of forever chemicals are kidney and testicular cancer, and then also low birth weight, high cholesterol, and pregnancy-induced hypertension. They're trying to kill us. And again, it's the people who are working in these spaces that are going to be the ones who die first and foremost. Lettuce. It's just Impossible Foods is banned in Europe. How about that? Kimberly said they allow some of it here in Colombia, but it has huge labels that say excessive sugar or fat or no nutritional value. And yes, Whitwaters, the U.S. is just toxic all around. Okay? So, last but not least, y'all, that man is all up in them files. That man, Donald Trump, is all up in them Epstein Files. Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I actually went through the files this weekend in depth. Donald Trump is not only named over and over in them, it is discussed this trial in which he was accused of raping a 13-year-old at Epstein's house. There is extensive discussions about a subpoena of Donald Trump in one of Jeffrey Epstein's cases in which he was accused for rape and sexual abuse. He was subpoenaed and gave a deposition in that case. There is extensive discussion between Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Mr. Wolf about not only Trump coming to his house, but Epstein says in these emails that he has photographs of Trump with girls.
Bruh. So I'm not surprised. What I'm surprised about is that they left it in there. That's what I'm actually surprised about. Because I absolutely thought that they would have redacted beyond measure. That's what I was expecting. And instead, they really just let it all hang out. That was not the best. No, that wasn't the right language. So I believe that this is, again, how they're going to remove Trump from office. And at one point in time, I thought the removal of Trump from office was going to be against his will. But I actually think that it is by design. And I say this after seeing him with Mamdani and how he was like, call me a fascist, I don't care. He tells on himself all the time. And I think that this is literally, like, he's fine with this. Vance is going to be so much worse, Sandy, 1 billion %. However, I do know that people think that once Trump is gone, all problems will be solved. And that's why you have someone like this jackhole Hillary Clinton running around saying, the problem is Trump. We got to get Trump out of here, which is such a very base and like puddle level analysis. It's just not accurate. The actual depth of where the control is coming from goes far below Donald Trump. So I believe he will be out here very, very soon. I think they may allow him to do 1 year and then that'll be that. However, I'm pretty sure that this is all a setup to just like, okay, now we're done. Now we're done. But he will get the opportunity to die free, which is something that some of our greatest examples of freedom fighters have not had the ability to do. Which brings us into Black Curate News.
Blackberry news. Politics. Blackberry news. Pop. Culture. Blackberry news. Sports. Blackberry news. Justice.
So the ancestors are leaving us. They're packing up. They're heading out. And we lost 3 this week. We lost 3 this week. We lost H-Rap Brown, also known as Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin. We lost Viola Fletcher, who is one of the last remaining survivors of the Tulsa Massacre. And we also lost Jimmy Cliff. Now, I can't play Jimmy Cliff's music because of the way that YouTube be doing. But I can at least sing you some Jimmy Cliff songs. Which I will do when I find the Jimmy Cliff picture that I just downloaded. I just be thinking I've got things like just sewn up, and then it's like, no, you don't. You're not organized. You thought you were organized, but you're not. So I apologize. I'm about to get it together in 2.2 seconds. Y'all, where is it? Stand by. I apologize for this. You can get it if you really. Where's. Oh, I know the problem. Hold on. All right. You guys are so patient. Because the harder they come, the harder they fall. One and all, one and all. my way. Oh. And I've got many rivers to cross. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wide world. Got to get high, just I wanna smile, girl. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wide world. Got to get by, just child, girl. And got to think about what the world can do, and it's breaking my heart in two. You can get it if you really want. I'm missing one too. I'm missing one. There's one more. It's on the tip of my tongue. And it is, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Hey, hey, I can see all obstacles in my way. There we go. Jimmy Cliff. Because the harder they come, the harder they fall, one and all. So rest in peace to Jimmy Cliff. One of the greats, adding consistently to the reggae canon and continued to perform, you know, for years and years and years and years. So really just so fortunate that we got to experience his gifts. We also lost Viola Fletcher, one of the last remaining survivors of the Tulsa Massacre.
This is Viola Ford Fletcher. I'm a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 107th birthday. Today, I'm visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time in my life. I'm here seeking justice, and I'm asking my country to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa in 1921. The night of the massacre, I was awakened by my family. My parents and 5 siblings were there. I was told we had to leave, and that was it. I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see black men being shot, black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. I will not, and other survivors do not, and our descendants do not. When my family was forced to leave Tulsa, I lost my chance of an education. I never finished school past the 4th grade.
Viola Ford Fletcher passed away this week at 111 years old. When I hear people say, we're tired, I'm just so tired. And we have Viola Ford Fletcher, who fought till the day of her death to continue to amplify and to demand reparations for what the people of Tulsa experienced. I scoff at you all who talk about we're tired. You tired? You better get busy. Because there are folks who have come before us that, again, as I say, and what would the ancestors say, but that as I also say over and over to you all, left us not our freedom, but a fight for our freedom. We also lost former Black Panther and political prisoner H. Rat Brown this week.
Black power. Let's react to your arrest, Brown. Of course, racist America has done it again, but that's not going to end the burning and burning. in Detroit, brother, because we built the country up and we'll burn it down, honkies and all.
Mr. Brown, did you tell them to burn down that school?
Be serious, I ain't got to tell black folks what to burn.
Did you tell them to shoot Lady Bird?
Did I tell them to burn down Detroit? Did I tell the America to bring black people here?
Did you tell them to shoot at Lady Bird?
I say if they give me a gun and tell me to shoot my enemy, I might shoot you.
Where have you been since the other night?
Talking about you Democrats, and the Democrats got you in the biggest trick going. They tell you it ain't our fault, it's the Dixiecrats. There's no such thing as a Dixiecrat. The only difference between George Wallace and Lyndon Johnson is one of them's wife got cancer.
He works off the military-industrial complex, which means that it's profitable to wage war. And unless you devise another plan, another scheme to sustain, to boost this economy, then it's going to be necessary to wage war. Whether, a black individual is in office or a white individual is in office. Well, so we're talking about a complete, a change in system.
If Mr. Cleaver did win the election, don't you think that he could have conducted the presidency in a unique manner that may not be, compromising to the system you speak of?
No, because, as I said, the system dictates the response of the individuals. See, individuals do not influence, politically, economically, or socially. The attitudes or functioning of the system.
Well, if politics as we know it here in this country is not the answer, what is?
I think there has to be a reevaluation of politics. Now, there are definitions of politics that are relevant to black people. Chairman Mao says that politics is war without bloodshed, and war is an extension of politics. I think black people have to begin to address themselves to the politics of revolution. Because we are caught up in revolutionary struggle, whether we want to believe it or whether we want to be or not. So I think, black people have to begin to think in a revolutionary fashion and create and construct a politically revolutionary platform.
People recognize, and the poor people recognize first, what it takes to get the man off your back, what it takes to get freedom in America. I say violence is necessary. Violence is a part of America's culture. It is as American as cherry pie. American taught the black people to be violent. Each time a police officer shoots and kills a black teenager, that is urban crime. You see, we recognize America for what it is, the Fourth Reich. And we tell America to be on notice, because if you are going to play Nazis, black folks ain't going to play Jews. Black people have to begin to identify with the word black and with other black people, not Negroes. You don't decide what I am. You see, animals and slaves are named after and by their masters. Men name themselves.
Better way to enslave a man than give him the vote and call him free. See, it does not profit black people or poor people anything to have the vote and not be able to select the candidates who they want to choose. Now, how can you choose between Lyndon Johnson, Nixon, Agnew, Wallace, and Humphrey? There is no choice. Evil is evil. There's nothing in between that.
There was some lesser candidates. Dick Gregory was running for office. Eldridge Cleaver.
I think the vote can only be used as a tool of organization. We can only use the vote to organize our people. Now, to really believe that we can put someone in office and that these people would be responsive to our needs is naive, politically naive. Because even if one of the black candidates who ran for office was to take the office of president, then black people must be prepared to fight against that person.
Why?
Because, you see, the system mandates the action of the individual. The individual does not determine how this country will function. This country works off the military-industrial complex, which means that it's profitable to wage war. And unless you, devise another plan or another scheme to sustain or to boost this economy, then it's going to be necessary to wage war. Whether, a black individual is in office or a white individual is in office. Well, we're talking about a complete, a change in system.
Crime. You see, we recognize America for what it is.
So H. Brown was convicted of robbery and did 5 years in Attica. Later in his life, he was then framed and convicted again to serve life. While in prison, he became Muslim and became Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin. And I did not realize that he died in prison. However, he did. He was denied medical care. He had cancer and cancerous tumors that were visible. And though there was quite an effort to get him the care that he needed, he was a political prisoner. And part of our political education is understanding that there are political prisoners in the United States. And some people seem to think that that only happens under some type of like fascist regime that's like in the streets being fascisty in that way. But however, this has always been a fascist regime that has always subjugated and suppressed and repressed individuals who challenge it. And not just Black people either. Let's never forget Kent State. So rest in peace to all of these folks who through their lives gave us encouragement through their music, through their words, through literally just their existence. And them moving from this realm into the ether is a gift for all of us. It means that our energy source of our ancestors has strengthened. So you must strengthen your connectivity to that energy source, to that knowledge base, by going in nature, by meditating, by allowing yourself to have stillness, by asking questions. Not just questions like, oh, what's going on? But asking yourself questions. Talk to yourself. So maybe lift them up. Maybe lift them up. And consider ourselves so fortunate to even have their physical presence available to us to even address.
They want to stand in the way of every move forward.
The only way you can think about your people's struggle is when you are involved in your people's struggle.
We're going to have to change how we relate to each other as human beings.
We're going to fight in solidarity.
Unity.
Let's
get
Welcome. All right. It's time for our critical thinking exercise of the week. And this week's critical thinking exercise is why do we question Mamdani? Oh, you know what? That was for our ancestors. Isabel requested an air horn for our ancestors. So our question is, why do we question Mamdani? So first, I want to just show you all a video, and then we're going to have a conversation.
Democrats win the midterms, do you want to see Leader Jeffries become the Speaker of the House?
Yes.
Okay, that was a firm, quick answer. So you leave plenty of time for my final answer.
Let me go back and give a little more.
Look, terms, do you want to see Leader Jeffries become the Speaker of the House?
Yes.
Okay. That was a firm, quick answer. So you leave plenty of time for my final answer.
Let me go back and give a little more.
Look,
What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? It's your man's MC Checkahoe, and I'm here to talk about Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani is out here, and y'all are really feeling some type of way about folks asking questions. So we got to talk about this. You feel me? Because your man's is your man's is a politician. So he's gonna be questioned. So let's start with that. But first and foremost, hold on. Let me get this right. So we're gonna start with that. But I also gotta take us into a whole other realm. All right? So I want y'all to walk with me while we get into this. First, let's keep it a buck. Many of y'all do not pay no attention to your candidates. All right? Let's keep it 1,000, y'all. You not doing research on candidates. Like, all you seeing is little clips and whatnot. You just basically like, yo, dude look cool. I like Buddy. That's it. So when things are being said by other folks who pay attention, you like, come on. Why y'all doing all of that? But you're not even paying attention to the fact that you don't even be paying attention. So it makes sense to me. If I don't pay attention, then I should probably listen to those who do be paying attention, because I'm incapable of identifying a shift of direction or consistency, because that's really what it. Okay, let's put it in terms of dating, since all of y'all be doing the dating thing like that. All right. So let's do this. So boom, when you hollering at somebody, right? Like if I'm hollering at you, I'm trying to show you like what I'm about, B. Like I'm campaigning for the spot. So I gotta come through and I gotta put it out there like what I'm about. Like, yo, I don't play about my daughter. I'm all about supporting women, you know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely like it's dumb easy to defend women. I'm all about making sure that the immigrants in my community is not getting wrapped up in ICE. Like you gonna know this about me. I'm also very much about making sure that I'm considerate, that I'm thoughtful, that I'm continuing to expand my emotional knowledge and intelligence. This is my platforms that I'm campaigning on for Shorty. All right? Shorty rock with me because I rock like this. This is what politicians is doing, right? Like they campaigning like your shorties of the constituency. Shorty constituencies, rock with me, cause I rock like this. Boom. So now Shorty like, oh, I see what he on, I see what he on. And so she gonna rock with me. But if I start switching up, she gotta flag me, B. She gotta flag me, B. Because if I start switching up, you gotta look at that as one or two things. That's one or two things. Either I wasn't really on it, or something has got me off it. Right? And either way, it's gotta be addressed. So when you seeing folks feel some type of way about Mamdani, I know his name is Mamdani, but I feel like I want to add other flavors with it when you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. There's just something about, like, I be wanting to add other elements, Mamdanicals. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something about that. I'm not really sure, but dude, I'm not trying to disrespect, dude. It's just, I be liking to add a little flavor to my work, to my food, and to names and whatnot. But let me get back to the basics here. So let's get to the basics, which is the campaign. Your man's campaigned on a number of things, all right? He campaigned on, yo, I ain't about them Zios. But then he flipped and said, not only am I going to keep Shorty Jessica Tish being the head of the Popos, she's the uppercase 12, I'ma say she gonna do a good job. It's like, why you gotta add all the extra jazz? Why you gotta add all the extra razzle dazzle? Just say, yo, I'ma let Shorty rock. We'll see how it go. That had folks looking sideways. Your mans was like, yo, I'm not with the genocide. I don't like it. It's quiet. It's wild. But then your mans was out here talking about rolling to fiddles. Ain't the language. So it's like these types of things got folks being like, yo, what's really good with dude? And I'm trying to get y'all to know this because a lot of y'all don't know nothing about this. And so it looks confusing to you. You like, yo, y'all just picking on son. But nah, it's not that. It's that you picking and choosing what you knowing about son. And so you can't even see when sun is really eclipsing. Speaking of clips, so your mans also campaigned on, I'm going to get y'all free buses. I'm going to get you grocery stores. I'm going to get y'all these types of things in the city, right? Right? All right. So here he is talking about this on the Majority Report. Check it out.
And even in the conversation around, the question of primary challenges, and much of this I would say is typically private within DSA, but everything I've said has been reported publicly, so I might as well just speak about it to you directly. I went to the endorsement forum that was considering whether or not to endorse C in that primary challenge, and what I said there is that this is not a question of the ballot box of who you would rather vote for. This is a question of how you want to spend the next year. Do you want to spend the next year fulfilling the agenda at the heart of this movement, or do you want to spend it defending the caricatures of that movement?
So real quick, I just want to pop in right here. What he's saying is, do you want to spend the year doing the things that the movement talked about, like the buses and whatnot, or do you want to spend the year defending folks like Chiose, who's a part of the DSA movement, who was riding with Buddy, but then when it was time for DOC to say, for Chiose to say, oh, I'm trying to primary Hakeem Jeffries, who is the representative of his district, your man's Mamdani said, nah, chill. So that's what he's talking about right here. He said, nah, chill. Because he's saying it's more important to just let Buddy Hakeem Jeffries rock because that's going to get the buses free versus Chiose being in there. Let him keep talking.
And the decision that I made, and the one that I shared with other members that night as they were considering how to participate in that democratic process, is to maximize every chance we have to fulfill the promises we made door after door, call after call, with many New Yorkers who had otherwise lost faith in politics years ago, so that we can tell them that success isn't just measured in the election we've already had, but also in our fulfillment of the agenda at the heart of that election.
Well,
and
yes.
I think that this...
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I don't know. And I was just going to say that I don't ever presume that everyone will come to the same conclusion as me. I don't think that...
All right. So this is where you start to see folks be like, yo, because now he's like doubling down on the joint, right? And now he's talking about the strategies for why he said chill to his mans. The thing about it is that his strategy includes working with Hakeem Jeffries, who we know is an AIPAC op, who ain't done nothing for nobody but AIPAC. And if you don't know who Hakeem Jeffries is, like, I think this is a real good framing of your mans.
We're going to stand together. Israel today, Israel tomorrow, Israel forever. God bless you.
And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
Like, if you re-upping speech from George Wallace, who was a violent segregationist, in a speech at a pro-Zio rally, I'm looking at you crazy. So let me break it down real quick. One of my folks on IG, he said in my comments, a hope without a plan is just a wish. A hope without a plan is just a wish. I say, yo, that's dumb poignant, famo. It is, because it's not that Mamdani don't got a plan. It's that the plan he's speaking of, it's not new. It's proven to simply not work. It don't work. Your mans is here talking about keeping Hakeem in the spot so that he could work with him to try and get the ball across the line for the buses and whatnot. But this presupposes that you're dealing with practical people, fams, and individuals that can be like reasoned with. Have you seen the way these people are? Like, they can't be reasoned with. It suggests that you can build coalition with genociders and genocidal supporters. These folks don't even see Mom Donicles as a Muslim, as a human. He's Muslim. Assalamu alaikum. This thought process is not new, fams. This is the same joint that slowed down the abolitionist movement. Cause you had white folks being like, yo, chill. We gonna get the slave owners to see that this is shameful. They're gonna feel bad. They're gonna end slavery because they feel bad. Nah. This is the same joint that had Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. like, yo, like Weebay in that gif from The Wire. He was like, bruh, I thought we didn't have rights because they just didn't know we was fly and flavorful and we was peaceful. I didn't know we didn't have rights because these folks really just didn't like us. Yeah. The burning house, B, we still in it. And we don't even got health care. Now, folks will look at McDonald's and be like, yo, Mamdani is a pragmatist. He's thinking rational. But that's reformists and politician talk for, yo, don't shake it up. Because then we're going to lose everything. And they mean they're going to lose their positioning. It's actually the opposite. It is actually irrational and illogical and impractical to continue to keep doing the same behaviors, even though you've already seen the outcome. And for the record, it's not like Buddy is saying his approach will be different. It's not like he's like, yeah, remember when they did that before? This is what they got wrong. Remember when they did that before? This is what they got wrong. This is how I'm going to do it. And maybe he's keeping that to himself. I don't know. But I think a lot of y'all think these cats is way smarter than they really are. Like, I think a lot of y'all be thinking that politicians is playing 5D chess. Nah, they talking with they 5D chesticles a lot of times. Like, they just not. It don't take being like some intellectual savant to be up in that sprat. It's the same. It's charisma. It's money. It's audacity. So when you wondering why we questioning Mamdani, it's because right now he looking a lot like, trust me, bro. He looking like it's a lot of wishes. The plan is one that's already been proven to not function, to not beget results. So to continue to say that's your plan, that says to me you don't got no plan. It's very trust me, bro. Just trust me, bro. Well, I gotta tell you, that trust has not been earned. And it's not personal. It's not personal. It's not personal. The distrust is political. And for the record, it's what keeps us safe. And it's what's gonna keep them on their toes. See, man's MC Checkahoe. I'm out. I'm gonna go hang out with my daughter and talk about absolutely none of this.
PSA.
Okay. Hold on. Let me change this background. You know, tomorrow you may be forced to hang out with people you don't like. Tomorrow you might be at a family gathering and you might be asked to not bring up politics. And you might be asked to not disrupt. And I say, F that. Absolutely disrupt. Disrupt about Palestine, disrupt about ICE, disrupt about MAGA, disrupt about Epstein. You could go classic and just disrupt with the truth of what this day really is.
Original Thanksgiving that took place was actually in 1622. And it was arranged as a form of giving thanks and honor to a gentleman named Tisquantum, commonly known as Squanto. He was a Patuxet tribe member. He had been taken as a slave and lived in Europe for some time. It was by the grace of Franciscan monks that heard about he was being sold for slavery. They freed him, and it took many years for him to arrange a way to steal his way back to his homeland. When he returned, he worked as a liaison between the pilgrims and the native peoples there, not just his own tribe, who had been wiped out by death at the hands of the colonists, as well as many plagues. He continued to do this work, and the original invitation was in November of 1622 to honor all of the work he had done by the local colonists in the original Mayflower Pilgrims community. There is some controversy into how this came about. After the event, Quantum actually died. Now, there are some individuals who feel that he was poisoned. There were some individuals who feel that he became ill. Irregardless of this, there was betrayal, because as soon as the peacekeeper, Tisquantum, passed, the colonists took liberty with and went about massacring many of the native peoples. And the reason for this was because he had been the peacekeeper and had been the one who had negotiated the peace treaties in the first place. They then felt that with his absence, and since the local tribal bases did have some trust of him, they no longer had to honor those arrangements.
That is grandmother Lanesan Moonwalker of the Yoeme Apache tribe, explaining the real history of Thanksgiving.
History behind this holiday. Growing up, I knew that what they told you in school about Thanksgiving wasn't true. That's not the true story. The true story behind Thanksgiving was, after every killing of a whole village, these European settlers celebrated it, and they called it Thanksgiving. But it wasn't until Abraham Lincoln became president that it became an official holiday.
We take this time to remember our elders who lost their lives due to what really happened.
Growing up, I would be kind of annoyed that they didn't know what actually happened on Thanksgiving, and that they're actually celebrating the deaths of many people and many tribes that were lost.
Happy Thanksgiving, America.
Flip the table! Flip the table.
60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
That was the wrong. That was the wrong music. What's up, y'all? We about to head on out of here. It's been a great one. Show your love. Show your love. I told you it was going to be a long show, but it was a fabulous show. Right? It was a fabulous show. Very proud of the work that was done on this show. Shout out to Latasha Marchand. Shout out to William Sakawa. All the way from Kenya. Man, we had a beautiful show today. I even started cooking my dang self. William was cooking. Then I was cooking. But tomorrow is actually Thanksgiving. Man. Shout out to all of our folks who dropped supers. I appreciate you. Miss Debbie, Safe Space Sue, Kimberly. Miss Debbie said, I'm going to re-up and give y'all another one. Corey, Rolando. Remember, you all can help support the work that I do by becoming a $5 subscriber to the SEAL Squad. That's it. It's $5. You get to join the SEAL Squad and join us after the show for our after show kickback. And for all of my people who are going to be out in the world in DC and Maryland next week, I want to remind you that I will be coming your way. All right. So I will be in DC on December 2nd. December 2nd, I will be in DC. And you can see the info right here. RSVP at AmandaSeals.com or at busboysandpoets.com. December 3rd, I'll be in Baltimore. You can RSVP at AmandaSeals.com. Only the first 40 people will get to be there for the book talk. But after the book talk, anybody can come to buy a book and get it signed. In DC, it's not the same. In DC, everybody can come. However, the first 100 books purchased get signed. Okay. And I'll be in New Orleans on December 11th. I got to make the rest of the flyers. I will be in Houston on December 10th. I'll be in Atlanta December 13th. And I will be in Dallas on December 14th. So mark your calendars. I'm going to put up the links to the RSVP links for those other cities over the next few days. So look out for that. Yes, I heard y'all were on the kickback for 5 hours last week. And Isabel, I hope you do. I really hope you do, because all of us would love to meet Isabel in person, don't we? All of us. And I just want y'all to know that, so I be making stuff, and sometimes, like, I mean, I don't know if it's like successful or successful is not the word, impactful. That's the word I'm looking for. Sometimes I don't know if it's impactful. And it'll be like when I come out to see y'all in the world that I find out that something is impactful a lot of times, right? Or it'll be like something just kind of random happens. So something random happened this week where a homeboy of mine sent me a picture of some images that he spotted at Princeton. He was like, yeah, I was at Princeton and I saw your artwork. I was like, huh? So then I opened the image and somebody at Princeton had put up my, somebody in Princeton had put up my ancestor calling cards on their desk. And I have to tell you all, this really blew my mind because I didn't think anybody cared about my ancestor calling cards but me. Okay. I felt like some of y'all just bought the ancestor calling cards just because you want to support me. So the fact that people actually not only bought the ancestor calling cards, but then like put them up. I don't know whose desk this is, but I just want you to know this brought like a level of joy to me that I haven't experienced in a long time. Like it was like a peaceful joy. I didn't even look at this. Ray sent her ancestor calling cards out. So just know that it really moves me that the work I'm doing moves y'all. It really does. So thank you all so much. And take it easy tomorrow. Actually, don't take it easy tomorrow. If somebody started with you, give them hell. All right? If somebody started with you, give them hell. Normally I would be like, don't let them work up your blood pressure. Nah. Mm-mm. If they go low, you go loud. That is my suggestion. We have a different kind of 30 seconds of stillness today. I shared this on Patreon, but I'm going to share it with y'all. And it's a moment of laughter between two of our greatest ancestors, H. Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael. Peace, y'all.
Black power. Let's react to your arrest, Brown. Of course, racist America has done it again, but that's not going to end the burning in Detroit, brother, because we built the country up and we'll burn it down, honkies and all.
Mr. Brown, did you tell them to burn down that school?
Be serious. I ain't got to tell.
I'm resigning. Should be cool. Got to get the power behind.
Yeah, and the walls came tumbling down. Yeah. That's where to go.
I think it's up by the post office. So we should.
Well, I gotta check the mail anyway, so we're gonna walk up there.
All right, I'll walk on up with you. You gonna give me protection?
From what? You Stokely Carmine.
Okay.
A man